Canyons.
eyes.
Oh, uh-oh, he's looking at me now. Okay, we're gonna start now. Welcome to the meeting of the Canyons Board of Education. Today is June 2nd, 2026, and we're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South, 300 East in Sand, Utah. The first item on the agenda is the Foundation Board Annual Report. This will be by Denise Haycock, Foundation Development Officer.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here tonight. My final presentation to the board. I'm going to invite up our board president to say a few words and get us started, and then I'll chime in. So Quinn Sperry is our current board president.
Thank you, Denise. So, familiar faces. And, we're grateful for the support that you give the foundation. We currently have 25 board members. We know some of that's in flux as some people are stepping down after a couple of them started the foundation board years ago. But we have a great diversity from various. Yeah, just the various businesses and backgrounds where you can see the names of everybody. I know the jobs are what we do. The title is pretty small, but from the financial sector, legal sector, council members, and there's some parent volunteers, some that wear two hats. So it's fantastic to be involved and to see the impact that has happened in our district with our children. I know as I decided not to run city council member again, this was the one board that I said, I'm getting rid of all the others, but I'm staying on this one because it's so rewarding. It's great to be involved and to see the impact at the level of the kids. So it's wonderful. What Denise has done and in the past, we couldn't do without them. I joked as we were getting up here. I said, I was just going to say, I may have this, but they do all the work. So I will let them speak. Unless you have any questions for me.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here. Thanks for all you do.
And we also appreciate our ex officio members that are on the board, because we have Katie, who is the Board of Education liaison for us. All of our city mayors we consider as ex officio members as well. So fantastic group of people. I love the people I have on the board, and we give back so much. First thing I want to talk about is our financials. And as you're aware, we take in cash donations, in-kind donations. Cash donations can either be restricted where they're going to a specific school or program, or we'll just do fundraising events where we raise money and we put it into our general fund and use as needed. Our endowment fund, we just pulled the numbers before I came in here. It's actually up to $677,000. So we're inching up close to that million mark, which is what the goal has always been. We grow our endowment fund at just about 10% per year, 10% of our fundraising activities. So we take 10% of our net from both the gala and the golf tournament, and then we put it in the endowment fund. We talked about, as a board, possibly pushing some more that way because we want this to be sustainable, to keep going, keep doing the programs that we have. We also have donor scholarship endowment funds. These would be the Fairborns, the Jorgensens, some of those where people give us money, the Millerbergs, to do scholarships for students. We continue to earn interest on it, so their scholarships will go on in perpetuity for them. So we have about, we will have 3 of those that are being set up. We're currently, our investment policy committee is meeting. We're currently looking at the way we handle our investments and who we handle them with. So there might be some changes with going forward in our structure with that. Then we have grants that we reach out to people for, and we get funding in through grants. In-kind donations, and we do a lot of donation drives, and a lot of people do that for us. I just wanted to highlight a few of the cash donations that we've got in this year. We got a grant of $25,000 from HCA Healthcare for the CTEC program. $25,000 from the Ron McBride Foundation for after-school programs, $15,000 from Larry H. Miller Foundation for holiday support. The Legacy, Flagstaff Legacy Foundation, part of Holiday Oil, gave us $5,000, as well as an additional $10,000 for holiday support. But they worked in conjunction with England, was it CR England, to get us our diesel. So we got the diesel truck for the CTEC program, $15,000 from Zions Bank, $15,000 from Jordan Credit Union for shoes, $10,000 from Shields, $14,000 from America First Credit Union, so many more. So it's just, those are some of the bigger ones, but we just want you to know who in the community is helping us and supporting us. Some of the other in-kind donations that we've got, we received a bunch of STEM products from Lakeshore Learning, musical instruments, cars for our high school auto shops, and then we get blankets, food, snacks, shoes, all of the good things for our resource closet. There have been so many donation drives. I also want to point out a few businesses and community partners that did large donation drive for us. South Valley Chamber did a big one. Cypress Credit Union, Sandy City did a day of service where we filled up probably 200 gray totes with hygiene supplies for our students. America First Credit Union again, Holiday Oil, FFKR Architects, USANA Kids Eat gave us over 1,000 weekend food bags for kids. So that's a lot of stuff coming in. So I just want to give a special shout out to the warehouse, because all these in-kind donations that are coming in, they're helping us store so that we can get them out. We have thousands of backpacks. We have shampoo and food, and we have our resource closet here. But there is a lot, I do have one, thank you. I have bronchitis and it's still kind of hanging with me. But it is a lot to manage, bringing that in, storing it, accounting for it, thanking people for it, and getting it out where it needs to go. So it is a big job, but we love doing it. But one of the rewards of that I wanted to share with you is just some of these adorable little thank you notes that I get. It's like, Dear Canyons Education Foundation, thank you for providing STEM activities. Thank you for making us happy with STEM. God bless you. Anyway, I get all this cute little artwork coming in, all these cute notes from kids. So that's the reward for what we're doing. And then they send me photos of kids using the items that we've actually been able to put in the classrooms. So when you see the students using what you give, it's really, that's the heartwarming part of the job of what we do. So the other way that we get money in, besides just people donating things to us, is through our fundraising events. And most of you have been to at least one of our events. We host the gala in the spring, and that brings in between $60,000 and $90,000 a year net for us. The gala has supported many things. We've supported mental health. We've supported classroom grants. We've supported unified sports. So we kind of go with different initiatives every year. Whatever you or the district administration thinks we should support with that is where we go with it. This last year, we were honored to have a speaker from NASA who was amazing, and also an alumni from Canyon School. Our golf tournament is well known and well loved. It's working. People love to come to our golf tournament. It is in the fall up at Wasatch State Park. The golf tournament funds our foundation innovation grants. We usually make about $100,000 at our golf tournament. And you're always welcome to come up, have lunch with us, and take a ride with us on the fund bus. So when we do those innovation grants, we go around and give out big checks to the teachers, big checks in the amount of between $1,000 and $10,000. Then we have our fun runs, which are not so much about making the big dollars, but about community involvement. So we're trying to get the community to come, have some fun with us, learn about what we do. We've done fun runs with the tutu run. I don't know if you remember the pig with the tutus. My favorite one was May the 4th Be With You, when we had the Star Wars characters come in. So we're leaning towards, excuse me, a superhero fun run for this next go-round. But we usually bring in at least $5,000 for that. We're hoping to inch that up. And we're going to make our fun run supporting unified sports from this point forward. So these will be our 3 main fundraisers. Any questions on any of those things? So the people that come to these, they are our sponsors, and we've been very fortunate to have sponsors who come in at a high dollar value. I want to thank some of those: Hogan Construction, Hughes, Cypress Credit Union, Roaming, MHT, every single sponsor, no matter if they're an individual ticket or the gold sponsor for the night, it all helps kind of raise money for what we're doing. What we do with the money is, this is the most important part, supporting the students. So the resource closet, food, clothing, hygiene, school supplies, shoes. This is a collaboration with the state and federal programs. Michelle Vogler and I have worked together on this to get items in and items out where they need to go. We also provide holiday support every Christmas to make sure that the kids have something for Christmas. Unified sports we've brought on at all levels. We're now going into elementary school as well. Unified sports, we cover things like their lunches, their snacks, their uniforms. Scholarships, we have our Canyon Strong Scholarship, which is through the foundation, but we also have private scholarships. I think we did about 57 scholarships this year, private scholarships. Then we also handle any special requests. We always do a back-to-school dinner at the road home for our students. There, individual students' needs, if someone needs a pair of glasses or a hearing aid or something like that, they can reach out to us and we have funds for that. And we have, as I said, supported mental health. So after we get done supporting the students, we support our teachers, the ESP, and departments within the district. We do the Teacher of the Year, which is the big checks that we give, as well as the baskets that each teacher gets. So it's around $30,000 in teacher awards. Foundation Innovation Grants, I mentioned before, that's about $100,000 a year. The Donors Choose projects, we've given over $400,000 in Donors Choose projects, and that's where teachers can put in a project online, and we will go out and fund it. The nice thing that we do with that is we look for matching offers where somebody else is paying 50% of it. So our impact, if we've done $400,000, we've had an impact of over $800,000. So it really benefits the teachers. We get a lot of classroom supplies in. We try and push that out to the schools. We have our ACE scholarship, where we have given that out to 7 people at this point, and that is $5,000 a year for up to 4 years. So that's a great scholarship. We're working closely with our special education department, Life Skills Academy, sometimes with their state funds and the limitations they have. We kind of come in and help with some of those extra things that they can't do. And then, of course, we're looking forward to working with the Canyons Innovation Center. That's my favorite graph. So I'm going back to when I started. Excuse me. So I started back in 2018, and on our financial statement, we had about $647,000. And our financial statement is a little over $3 million. So that's amazing, and I'm very proud of that. But also, since I've started, something that we didn't have before, we started the resource closet, and we're helping with the teen centers. We're supporting unified sports, which is fairly new. Donors Choose is new. The fun runs are new. Having the vendors at the Team CSD with the HR department is new. Doing coordinated donation drives with businesses and other foundations is new. We increased the scholarships from 19 when I started to 54, from 23,000 to 97,500. And then we've started the ACE Scholarship. So for me, this has been an amazing ride. And I've loved the job. I want to thank Charlie and Susan for giving me the opportunity and the board, of course, to do this job. But it is now time for me to move on and pass the baton to our new development officer, which will be Brooke Horn, who knows the department well, has worked with us for years, a couple of years now. And so she knows all the events that we're doing, and she's done the financials, so it's a natural fit. She's gonna do amazing. And Brooke, if you wanna come up and say a few words.
Quinn just whispered to me that if you went from 500 or 600,000 to 3
What
million,
you're gonna have to do? No.
in 8 years, I need to be at 24 million. So
No pressure.
because I'm coming after all of you. No, I'm excited. I have been involved with the district. My kids have all been products of Canyons District. I still have one in school here. But I had an opportunity a few years ago to go to work at Hillcrest. And that was a very different environment than the school that my children had been attending. And I was just amazed and awed at the opportunities for service and the opportunities that our students had and needed, and that we were able to fulfill as a district and as volunteers within our own community. And so that has something that's really stuck with me ever since I was at Hillcrest. And now I'm excited to be able to come and work on that at a whole other angle here through the district offices, with maybe a little bit of a broader scale, but just as much impact hopefully on the individual. So Denise is leaving big shoes to fill, and we'll do our best to get there. Yeah.
We're working together this month, and we're gonna
work together.
make sure she knows everything she needs to know. And if there's any questions, we can answer.
Okay, Mrs. O.
Yes.
Hey, first of all, Denise, thank you for all of your work. We really owe you a lot. We're so grateful for all of the work you've done. So many amazing things have happened as a result of your efforts, and it's been a joy to see how that's impacting kids at a grassroots level. As things are shifting over the brook, I've had some things like floating in the back of my mind with regard to the foundation that I'm wondering if, just to put it out there and see if maybe it could be considered or at least discussed as a board. So now that we have the strategic plan, and especially the portrait of a Canyon scholar, part of me wonders if that has impacted the conversations at all about how money is awarded in certain cases. So I'll give you an example. I was approached by a teacher that shared an article with me about in New York State, they had, this is several years ago in the public schools, they had an initiative that would allow teachers, I think this is at the elementary level, to apply for a grant to be able to go and have some really unique training and work together in cohorts across the state of how to be really innovative and hands-on with project-based learning and other things in their classrooms. And then those teachers went and shared it in their local schools, and kind of it helped everyone's tide rise. And she was saying, is this something we could ever consider? And I was like, wow, you know, that's an interesting idea, because I know the foundation grants usually kind of go to purchase items or equipment, right? Like hard things. But what happens if we were to invest in our teachers a little differently with that, you know, some of that money? Just like something to think about. Another idea with that was when we were talking about things at the Innovation Center, and as that's starting to become a part of our near future, when we were talking about, you know, different opportunities that teachers could go out and find with employers that are really innovative and really helping students lift their businesses, what's the motivation for them to go above and beyond that much more? Is it possible that perhaps on the back end, like if they're awarded, or this could apply anywhere, I guess, in the district, for something where they've gone above and beyond and really demonstrated something that aligns effectively with the strategic plan and with the portrait of a Canyon scholar. So that's also kind of like a big picture idea. And then one other thought I had was the idea of, like, you know, because we're going to be focusing so much on entrepreneurship at the Innovation Center, to provide opportunities for seed money for student businesses. You know, I know we award scholarships and whatnot. It's kind of its own scholarship, really, for students to be able to have that learning experience of trying to lift the business, and sometimes they have to have a little bit of capital to be able to move towards that. So I don't know. So those are just some thoughts. I wonder if, as we're moving into the future, there's been so much amazing foundational work that has been done. And maybe we start thinking a little bit outside the box as we're trying to become innovative in our practices and especially reflect the strategic plan. So anyway.
I love that.
That's great. Mrs. Nybar.
Those are some really awesome ideas. I think that would be great to discuss at the board roundtable too, because there's some other things that we could go into with some of those. So I think that would be awesome. But I wanted to also just thank Denise. What incredible, fantastic work. The numbers alone speak volumes to what the impact has been for everyone. And I'm really sad to see you go, but excited for your relaxing future. Whatever that becomes. I'm excited for Brooke. Brooks, I was thinking, wait a minute, now what's going to happen during legislative session?
I know.
But I'm sure we'll figure that out. But I'm grateful for great people, and this is just such an amazing work. So thank you. I just wanted to say thank you.
I do like your idea, Amanda, as well. Some of those things, as they start to discuss them, we need to look back at our bylaws because there are certain things in the bylaws right now that prohibit that from happening. So there would need to be an amendment to the bylaws for some of those things you're talking about. Yes.
Mr. Edel wanted to say something.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, we're all here for the kids, and so I wanted to point out, how many you've impacted, but also what you've done and how it'll carry on, and how many generations, of children's and lives that, will be changed because of the work that you've done. And I mean, with the scholarships and with everything else, the work that you've done is life-changing, and so I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Dolly.
Thank you for the legacy that you've left here, Denise. I mean, you have recruited a great group of business leaders, and it's amazing being in the meetings, and they're wanting to do whatever they can for the students in our district. And Denise has been just a huge part of that and leading out and setting that vision. And it's kudos to you how you've grown this so much over the last 8 years. So thank you for all you've done there and getting the businesses behind them. But talking a little bit too to your strategic plan question, one of the things we've started talking a little bit about with this literacy initiative is how can we get the foundation on board with this more, because this isn't just an education issue, this is a society issue, this is a workforce issue, and to really make a difference with that, we really have to be working as a community to make a change there.
Okay, and then these are for you, Denise, and I just want to add my thanks, and just like everyone said, what you've done will have the effect for many years to come.
It's been my honor, truly. Next person doesn't get flowers.
Okay, thank you again, Denise, and Quinn and Brooke.
Thank you, Quinn.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thanks.
So the next item on the agenda is the Strategic Plan Focus Group Report, Operating Systems by Leon Wilcox, Business Administrator.
Thank you. Big thank you to Denise. Denise is a day one person. She started out when we started as a district, she was a para in Jordan, but was special ed admins. When we started in 2009, then years later became Dr. Briscoe, my admin assistant. Many of you don't know that, but she preceded Cindy. She really found her true calling in the foundation, so we're going to wish you the best of luck. So thanks to Denise. I want to just thank the members of my committee. A handful of you are here, but Katie, Andrew, and Amber for serving on the committee, and those in the room, Scott, Kirsten, Dan, Jeff. The biggest thing that we wanted to hit tonight was Q. That is our big implementation that is coming up this summer. So I've asked Camille, who has done a fantastic job. She's heading up our student Q. We did finance Q back in October. That just hit human resource accounting, budgeting, payroll, those things. But Q hits everybody, every teacher, every parent, every student. So Camille has done a fantastic job heading that up. along with Eric. Eric's another day oneer with us, been here with a long time. I'll ask them just to do a quick 10-minute presentation on what parents will see when Q comes online and it goes live on registration. So here's just a quick, here's our goals. We won't go over those, but here's a quick thing on Q. September 19th, we'll start taking registrations. Essentially, June 25th, our old Skyward goes away. Skyward will then take Q and take our data, convert it into Q. It will take them almost a month to do that. We'll get it back on July 13th, well, about 2 weeks later, but it's gonna be really July 20th before it is rolled out and made live to everyone. Then registration will start on August 3rd. So with that, you guys wanna give a quick presentation?
While Eric's connecting, just to kind of give you an idea of the training that's been happening, 'cause I know that's been a concern, like how is everyone gonna get trained about this? Like so far since the end of January, we've done like 58 trainings, which is like anyone from office school staff, nurses, food service, we did teachers this week, district specialists, nurses, and it's from like registration, it's from almost everything so far, and we're barely touching the surface because we're like, what do people need to get the school year started? And so it's about 1,300 individuals that have been in each training. It's not unique individuals, so that's 13 people in the seat. So, and that's just, we're gonna have more trainings come June, July, August, September, October, November. So, but just to give you an idea of what we've been doing so far, and then showing you what the families will see, and we will have resources for the families. I'll be working with communications, like what can we do to help preview what this will look like, and then have resources that are also translated so that they can have those documents to be proactive with the support they need to be successful with this. So.
Yeah, so as Leon said, as my Wi-Fi kicked off here, so we'll see what happens here. We'll try this one instead.
So just a quick question while he's reconnecting. With back to school registration, is there a way to move that tile so it's the top corner? Like right now it's at the bottom, I think, just so, especially if people are coming from mobile, it'll be the first thing they see instead of.
Yes, and we can also, you're seeing a lot of tiles there. We can clean that up as well. We can even work with schools to make it school specific. So if there's tools, tiles they want to see, and even links to like external, maybe to Parent Square or something. So we can definitely tailor it, but yeah.
Just the ease we can make it so it's the first thing they can see when they come in, and when it's all new and they're sort of confused of where am I?
Right. Nope. Yes. So.
We'll see if this holds here for a minute, but so again, to answer your question, yeah, we'll be able to arrange these tiles in a certain order. There's certainly tiles on here that we'll never have on there. This is just kind of the default. There's things in here that we don't use, or it's not something that we would display to families. So again, when a family comes in here, they will have to do this registration process for every student, just as in current version of Skyward. When it is available, they'll have that tile. Again, most likely we'll have it in that top corner. They'll go into that back to school registration and then be able to begin that process. Again, some of this is still being worked through as far as some of the verbiage, but this is all kind of customizable as far as what information displays for a parent as far as the step one instructions. The one nice thing about this is with your browser, parents will have the ability to go in and update the language or translate the language within their browser. So again, if I wanted to choose this language, it is going to translate everything on that page into whatever language that parent chooses. And again, the way that we have the information built within this registration, everything should translate based off of, again, whatever browser translation, so probably some kind of Google type translation. But again, maybe not perfect, but at least a solution for those families to be able to get through this, hopefully a little bit easier than current version that we've kind of struggled with at times. So again, they'll be able to come in here, start the process, and go through those steps. The steps will be very familiar to most families. Again, they will have their answers carry over. Residency is one that we don't carry over, but other areas like the alternative language, the student health information, all of that kind of stuff will carry over from current version, so they won't have to refill it. It's going to be more of a verification process. We still have that ability when they answer questions a certain way. It will prompt them for additional questions as far as what they do need to select, and they will be required to answer those questions in that process. So again, not a huge change other than just really more of a look and feel change. Again, as they go through and complete, certain steps are required, certain steps are optional. They don't have to fill it out, so if they choose to, they can skip certain steps as they go through and do this process. There are certain steps that are only available to certain students or certain questions. So again, if we're looking at a current 12th grade student, they are going to see information in here for the SHARP survey. If you're not a 6, 8, 10, or 12th grade student, then you wouldn't. If you are a 6, 8, 10, 12, you'll see SHARP. If you're outside of that, you'll see the school climate survey. So again, there'll be certain questions. If you're kindergarten, there'll be the question about the House bill for toilet training. They'll have to answer that question. So not every student will see every question. Again, it'll go based off of your grade. So certain questions will appear for certain grade levels. So again, that's a very kind of quick high level that Leon kind of asked us to come through and show. Happy to answer questions that you have on this. Again, there are still some work in progress through this. Again, all the data we'll have to bring over from current version, so they don't have to necessarily answer everything. Again, more of that verification.
And Eric, this is mobile friendly, right?
Yep, so that is one big plus with this is the new version of Skyward is very mobile friendly. So there will be easier for a parent if they are doing it on a phone or an iPad or a mobile device like that. One thing that I'll point out right now today, there is not a step within this registration process for the food service application. It would be something that they would have to do in a separate step. There would be a food service application step in this process that they could go through and do. Skyward has committed that they would have this available to us by the time we go live, so we can have this as a step. So we don't have to have parents do registration and then do a separate step to do the food service free reduced application. They can do it all within the same registration process. So we anticipate to have that there as well.
Okay, Mrs. Dolly?
One question, transportation, will that, people be able to look up bus routes from the transportation tile, or will they still have to come to the website?
We do load the transportation routes within there, like what bus number and the pickup and drop off time, so that will be something that will show out here in the transportation tile.
Thanks. And then can you show the emergency contact? I know Holly would be interested in that, just how that is set up now and whether like pickup and stuff is allowed.
Go back to within registration.
registration.
Within registration, there'll be a step for emergency contacts where they can edit emergency contacts, add, reorder, delete emergency contacts. So part of the emergency contact fields, again, we will be getting rid of driver's license number. That's not something that we ask. But there will be a checkbox here that they can check to identify who is available or who can pick up their student from school or check out their student from school. So again, this would be something that we'll need to work with our schools through kind of new processes to basically verify that that contact has that information or that field check to allow that pickup to happen. If they don't, then we would need the parent to go in and update that. Again, they can certainly update it through registration. There will be also a method that they can do outside of registration through their family access where they can then update that that information as well. So it's not just only part of the registration process. They could go out here into the emergency contacts and update that information. So.
And they're only
able to update their own, they're not able to update different family members, so. Correct.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, thank you so much for showing.
Thank you.
You guys.
Thanks for all your work. A lot of work.
Thanks for being here after being at Elevate all day, teaching classes, and tomorrow.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.
Very similar.
Yes, it's not so archaic, it's a lot more user-friendly.
Like you can usually pull a schedule.
All right.
The time.
Just want to say, I received a call today, and I thought it was a prank call, but it says you can either have $250 or you can have 2 tickets to an Elvis impersonation show. And then it says you either have to click 1 for the money or 2 for the show.
That's a good one.
Wearing your socks today, ladies.
We're on the socks today. We're gonna hit a couple things. I'm gonna hit a couple slides, and I have Kirsten come up and show what we're doing on our recruiting efforts here. I want to just, as you know, we sent out a calendar survey. The calendar committee will be looking at this, but I just want to give you guys the quick overview of it. Went out in April. Keep in mind, everything for next school year, the 26-27 year, will be as is, no changes. But some of this data may be used to impact how we do things in the future, how we set up the calendar. So we sent out this in, you can see the responses, but we sent it out in April. 1,500 students, lots of parents. They were far and away the biggest, almost 2,200. Staff members, we got quite a few back from as well. And you can also see the feeders with Brighton leading the way, but you know, out the corner. So we're going to have good participation from all feeders there. So we feel like there's some really valid data here. 3 questions that we asked. One, it was on the AB block. Do you want to keep the AB block as is, where it fluctuates, you know, on a rotating basis, or do you want it fixed? So A day, Mondays and Wednesdays would always be A day, Tuesdays and Thursdays always B day, Fridays would go back and forth. Holiday on Monday, they would change. But you can see we had not a overwhelming, but a strong preference, preferred that we do the fixed, which I thought was interesting. Some districts do that. Again, this is just for high school here. Something to think about. Second question we asked, which gave us bigger data, was ending the first semester before winter break. So we have, I would call it, you know, we hear that a lot about students coming back for those 2 weeks, and you know, how does that impact them? Some of them use it, some use the break to catch up on stuff. Others want to just feel like, hey, they're off for 2 weeks, they're coming back for 2 weeks, but rather just start the new second semester right when they come back. So heavy percentage preferred that prior to Christmas. Now that does impact, it really doesn't impact your year-long classes, right? It impacts those semester classes, because you have a few days less. Those that are, again, math 10-10 or math honors all year, that's not going to impact it, but those ones there, semester ones, yeah.
Have we gone back to the data and pulled Brighton out on these questions? Because I know that Brighton had a significant number that responded, but that could skew this data differently.
Yeah, we can pull it up. I don't know what that.
Oh, because of how it impacts the trend.
Well, and I personally.
Because these ones don't impact Brighton, but if they voted on it,
Good point.
so I think,
We've got to pull it out, but I also think we should really only survey teachers, because we did not, that was not a big group, and I'm worried the most about the impact on teachers, I'll be honest with that. 'Cause that means they're doing all the grading right before Christmas. I think that could be stressful, but anyway, the calendar committee can talk about it.
And the last question we asked are the educational professional days. Do you want them, spread throughout the years, or do you want them aligned closer to, you know, holidays that we have now? It seems to be, keep them aligned.
Keep them with holidays involved.
A big surprise there, right?
Shocking.
So those are the three questions, yeah.
I was gonna just say, one of them, the schools put out for next year, like, these are the weekends you should take holidays, like the long weekends, instead of, you know, to help with attendance. If you're gonna take a vacation, take it over one of the long weekends. So, you know, trying to advertise that ahead of time.
Like, we do provide some opportunities for that.
So we'll probably be talking a lot about that in the fall as we start developing the calendars for, you know, starting the 27-28 school year on. Okay. Changing subjects. This is one thing that we've been tracking quite a bit over the last decade. This is kids, students who reside in another district who attend one of our schools, or kids who reside in our district and attend a school in another district. So you have kids, so Alpine kids who live here but attend Alpine and vice versa. So you can see the trend as it's gone down. I'm not going to show you all the numbers, but I think the biggest one's in Jordan here. You can see where the numbers have gone right now. You know, it looks like our biggest, you know, gap, if you will, spread, which we like to see. See over the total, the student net gain or loss, we went from 470 students to a plus 370. So that's a big kudos to our schools, right? They're magnets, they're attracting kids from neighboring districts, and you can see the trends from each one over the last 8 years. There's also a dollar component to this. Again, the state money is equalized. So if a student comes here, we get the WPU, of course. But then you have to equalize the property tax that are paid in that other district. And so there's a formula, the USBE finance staff calculate that every year, and that's how much we can bill a district for a student that attends a school in us, and how much they can bill us for attending one of their schools. So our amount's always going to be higher because we have a higher assessed property value than these other districts around us. So you can see, you know, we're still going to pay out net amount $226,000 this year, but you can see the dollar amount has gone down. You know, last year we're $600,000 in the better. That's a big deal, at least for me. So
Yeah.
so that's a huge deal and a huge deal for our school. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kirsten, who's going to take us through the rest.
This is okay.
No, it's okay, it'll probably have more to do with Kirsten anyway.
Okay, I did, sorry.
Yeah, my one question is if we know for the pockets of where they're drawing students from, like which school boundaries or communities, do we have pockets, or is it just kind of spread across the board? I'd be curious about that.
Hillcrest is the biggest draw. IB and theater.
But I'm saying of where we're losing students, do we know?
It's up in Suncrest. Suncrest is one.
I know that one, and that's because of the
next
busing.
one would be Cottonwood Heights. Historically, you know, they were actually, before the district split, part of Cottonwood Heights was in Granite.
Right.
And they have just kept going to
Yeah.
Churchill and Skyline High.
Okay.
And Oak.
Are they closer geographically to Skyline's IB program than they are to Hillcrest?
I don't know.
It'd be-
I'm just wondering, because, I mean, yeah, that's another conversation, but I'm just wondering if we could recapture some of those kids.
We've been, that's a long thing.
Yeah, I'm sure, yeah,
And we have made a little progress.
that's good.
Inspiring numbers, actually, just to make that point, yeah, we are gaining on that. We're making some headway. So I won't spend too much time on this slide, but just really kind of wanted to kind of provide a report on all the work that we've been doing to, with customer service and advertising and community engagement to promote our schools and programs. It's been a 3-year effort. And when we started this in 23, 24, we just really wanted to start by getting very focused on what our vision and mission was, which is essentially maintain a sustainable school system that serves all students in honor, choice, and equity in the enrollment process. And we focus not just on, growing awareness about all the great things that are happening in our schools. I can tell you that well. But we also wanted to focus on like systemic improvements that we could make, just for example, to make it easier for kids to register for school. And so you can see how kind of that work aligns there with the strategic plan. So, I can get the glasses, so I don't have to take them on and off. When we launched into this, we started by surveying families to understand what the motivating factors were for enrolling in Canyons District schools. I don't think any of those are any big secrets, but of course, school reputation is right at the top. School safety and climate, convenience for families. A lot of families want their kids to go to school with their friends and their neighborhood kids, and so don't never underestimate the draw or the allure of the neighborhood school. And then what we've discovered informed, of course, the messaging that we did, but also the steps that we took again to sort of make onboarding with us as easy and seamless as possible, including the no wrong door policy that we adopted for permits. So when our schools have been like accepting tons of permits, and so we've encouraged that, and we've encouraged people to apply for permits. Of course, we did a customer service training with our secretaries, and we started pre-enrolling our preschoolers into their boundary schools, so that was like one less step for them to have to take. We also actually consolidated the enrollment for preschool and kindergarten to kind of help that make that a little easier. It's kind of about the same time frame, January, February. So here's some examples of what we did in terms of advertising strategies. So a lot of what we do is pretty homegrown and taking advantage of our organic channels. It's cost efficient, it's effective. We have great websites and great avenues for telling our own story, and we do that. But we also pursued some digital advertising, targeting families specifically with school-age children in our area. And this included all of those strategies you see there, from Google search display to video pre-roll, with the idea being that if you're online and you're a family of a certain age with kids in our geographic area, you're seeing stuff about canyons, whether you're looking at YouTube videos or doom scrolling on Instagram or listening to a podcast or searching for schools in Utah. You're encountering them. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention that we did is started a new mover mailing. So anytime a new family moves into Canyons, they actually get a postcard, a welcome to neighborhood postcard from us. To date, we've mailed about 2,900 of those, and we've actually kept those addresses so that we can add them to our newsletters and whatnot, in addition to the homeschooling families that we have also tried to engage, just so that they're aware of the dual enrollment opportunities that are available. Community engagement. So we do a lot of this already, but we've added a few sort of arrows to our quiver. So I mentioned the homeschool families, and then for the past 2 years, we've also staged those preschool kindergarten open houses. We found that, I think, actually there was sort of some pent-up demand for that kind of information that we give so that you can onboard your little ones for Big Kids School. We held 6 last year, and I think they averaged about anywhere from 60 to 100 attendees at each of those events. One of the other things that we do that's been successful too is our municipal partners, our cities. They all have newsletters that go to every homeowner in their area, and so sometimes when we're trying to reach people who don't have kids enrolled, that's one avenue that we use, is they allow us to contribute content to the newsletter, so that's been super helpful. So some of the KPIs as a result of some of this work. So 4.4 million impressions, 47,000 clicks. I want to emphasize that this is in addition to what we've already done, right? Like, I think we have upwards of 15 million hits to our website in a year, so this is on top of that. The phone call leads to, I wanted to emphasize that they actually get follow-up by a staff member in our office. So if they're emailing us or they're calling us, we're responding within 24 hours, and then we're also making sure that we follow up with them to make sure that they got the information they need. And in terms of enrollment, these are some kind of indicators. So projections, we build enrollment projections for last 3 years except for last year. And that's according to the projections that Rick Sheese draws in January. And we all know that last year was a little bit of an anomaly, right, because of immigration patterns and policy that impacted our projections in ways we probably couldn't have foreseen just with straight projections. We are accepting more or receiving more permit applications. They peaked in 23-24, but even beyond that, we started confirming more. So even though the applications have dropped a bit, we're confirming more this year than the year before. So these are people who are trying to get in our schools. As you know, many of our high schools maintain waiting lists to get into them. So you've asked for some data before, kind of about how we compare to some of our local charters. And this is the number of Kansas District students who are enrolling in public charter schools across the years. And you can see it's been fairly stable, fairly flat. Homeschooling is a little bit on the rise. We probably can guess why. And I would assume vouchers have played a role in that. And then the capture rate, of course. So this is, according to the US Census, how many school-age children live in canyons. This is the percent that we capture. We did get quite a bump in 23-24 when we started all of this. It's kind of leveled off a little bit. Just keep in mind that this is for K-12, so obviously it differs in at per school level. So the elementary right now is at 69%, middle school is at 75%, and our high schools are at 80%. So that's the average. Preschool enrollment is really strong, especially for the tuition-based kiddos. That's on the rise, so that's a sort of an area of strength for us. And this is the percent of preschoolers who then enroll in Canyons District as kindergartners. So also a little bit of a drop, but again, 70.7% is still higher than the K-5 capture rate. So again, I think it's an area of strength and maybe more opportunity for the district. So where are we headed next year? We're obviously going to continue doing what we're already doing. One of the great things about digital ads is it's really easy to understand kind of your ROI as the ads are running. You can test different ad messaging strategies to determine what's working, what's not working. So we'll continue to do that. But we're going to add, we're going to take some additional strategies. So for example, we're thinking about parent testimonials for, we know in a lot of families who are, big advocates and kind of brand ambassadors for their schools, or people who have gone to other schools and then come back. We want to help tell their story. This was actually your idea, I think, Amanda, the CSD TV ads, right? Rolling those ads while people are waiting for a live stream. We could do that with our podcast as well. We're going to put ads on the TV screens that are hanging in most schools. When I say ads, that's predominantly for like programs and opportunities that are available throughout the district that students can apply for. School bus ads, we're installing 10 more of those this year. We're doing movie theater ads. We're doing lawn signs for our students. And the good news, and billboards, which I think I've shown you some examples in the handouts that I provided. And the good news is that we're going to fund this, I think it's important, with ad revenue that we've raised through working with our own partners. Like, so for example, if someone wants, a local business wants to advertise using some of our external fencing or through the Peach Jar Flower system, we put some ad money there, and Susan Edwards identified this opportunity, and the Kansas Education Foundation authorized us to use that money. So we're excited about that. And then of course, so we have those 3 big campaigns that we're rolling out this year. Obviously, we'll continue with just promoting schools at large, but then the Kansas Innovation Center, which opens in August 2027, we want to build awareness about that. So in the handout, I've kind of like chalked out what that's going to look like and the tone of that and kind of the strategies behind that. And then an anti-vaping, actually. Our Student Wellness Services group received a grant, applied for and received a grant, so we're using that money to help push awareness, and it's actually going to be based in prevention science. So this notion that you're really playing off risk and protective factors as part of your messaging. So we've got some people actually already working on that, so I'm excited.
Thank you. Yeah, Mrs. Oaks.
I love your ideas, Kirsten, and I have to say, like, when I think about the mass exodus of a lot of our immigrant students, I feel like the efforts that you guys have gone to, in large measure, have helped cushion that blow. I think it would have been a lot worse, actually. So I really appreciate so much what you were doing. And these other ideas, I mean, I thought, oh, they've thought of everything. And then you had another page. I'm like, you know, whenever I go on walks in my neighborhood, like I know exactly which families are the Juan Diego families because they all have their graduate signs out front. And I had never thought like we should do the same thing, but it's a great idea.
Yeah, and then, and I know a lot of the high schools already do that for sports teams, probably.
Yeah, they do.
Kind of thing, but I think maybe we should grow it.
But to have it as a graduate and it's like a sign of like, it's a badge of honor, I think it's awesome. So, yeah, really clever. Thank you for your work.
And I'm always open to new ideas, so
And these ads look fantastic.
And all the ads are so
I'm
awesome.
excited to launch those. And I think Greg and Billboards actually is donating some space to it so that we're getting this kind of raised.
Oh, nice. Okay, thank you so much. Mrs.
I was
Nyland.
just gonna quickly say thank you also. I knew it took some time with strategic enrollment to figure out where those numbers were with charter schools and all of that. That's awesome work too. Just the whole thing is really awesome, so.
Happy to share whatever intel we have.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're gonna skip the superintendent listening tour right now. Hopefully we'll have time to get to it. But we're gonna move ahead with the two other items first. So we're gonna go on to item D, the policy update.
You're welcome.
School wellness, technology and resources. Anyway, I'm not gonna read all that, but Jeff Christensen, Assistant Legal Counsel.
Well, thanks, McKay.
This
Do I have time to read the fortune cookie then?
No.
I don't have time?
Only
Can't be
if
worse.
it's
Can't be worse than the Elvis joke.
No, I'll be brief. I attended graduation. I have a hawk now somewhere in the state on a wonderful graduation party. So it was really nice, candidly, to go to graduation. Sometimes legal services, as Dan and I can attest, we always don't see the bright side of what's happening in our schools. And like, I actually got, it was different than my son's experience because it was a nail biter to the end, whether or not we would be at graduation. With my daughter, it was a much different experience. I got to listen to Leon give a graduate speech, which was great. I mean, he didn't tell a joke, but it was short. And board member Oakes, just out of curiosity, I decided to time, and you were spot on with the amount of time.
Can I get 3 minutes?
So I wanna say something. Thank you, board. Everyone was really short and I got lots of
Yeah.
reports,
So it was great.
except for maybe one wasn't short. Anyway. But everyone did great. So thank you so much to all you board members for being short.
I'll try to be short here. So this fortune cookie, I'm gonna read it because I think it plays into one of these policies we're gonna talk about. Don't wait for success. Start ahead without it. So that applies precisely to what I'm gonna talk about when it comes to this school wellness issue.
Might belong on the legislature's website.
That should be the, yeah, exactly.
So,
Tagline.
school wellness. So there is a statute that was passed, not this year, but last year, requiring that schools, public schools, not prohibits food additives, food sold, donated, offers, or served in public schools beginning in 26-27. We had a great discussion of the soundness of this legislation in our policy committee, and I'll put it in that. So the real issue here is implementation. So Karen, on our wellness committee, worked with our head nurse, Jen Gerard, to develop some kind of an implementation plan. We brought that to the policy committee, and again, there was much discussion regarding how best to implement this bill. So essentially, the rule requires that we can't sell, donate, offer, serve on school grounds food dyes. Okay, great. Then how then do you implement that? And so the challenge is how we're going to move forward. So the policy component of this discussion is straightforward. We've added the language that's required to our policy. We will be in compliance. The implementation is going to be like my fortune cookie said. We're going to start, and it might not be with a great deal of success as we begin, but over time, I think we'll do our best. So you can see that there's 3 exceptions that are allowed under the statute for not adhering to this prohibition of dyes. The one is you can let a parent bring their own students' food to school, and that's not something that needs to be prohibited. Or alternatively, a teacher can provide a food item if they get permission from the parents at the beginning of the school year. And we're talking about how best to include that in our online registration so that that isn't something the teachers have to manage. The third is that a school may sell a food item with food additives, ingredients as described as a concession item or an extracurricular event or a vending machine. So I don't know if did the graphic make it on? Maybe it didn't. So it looks like it didn't. So I included it on board docs. You might be able to, or on Diligent.
A little infographic.
Yeah, so the discussion in our policy committee was to have a one-page document that can be provided to a parent if they bring something that's beyond the scope of their own student to address this issue. And it essentially details the law and indicates that it's not from school board directly to state statute. And so if you have feedback before our next reading, again, this would just be an exhibit to the policy. Welcome feedback if you look at it and think, oh, I wish this could be done. And Kirsten did a great job working with Jen on preparing that for our one-page kind of communication tool. Then the other piece is we also have drafted a potential agreement that would be provided to teachers. We're still looking at that. And then the other pieces that Karen kept, we'll keep that on file with the Wellness Committee. And then portions of that larger exhibit that they prepared is going to go in a memo, which I think it's likely
for this Thursday.
For this Thursday, it's kind of a reduced version of the larger document because that's more of a communication tool. And this is just the bullet points to our staff, recognizing this will be a training item coming next week.
We were just trying, Jen and I were trying to answer questions that will come up and how we would deal with them and still stay in compliance
And I think all three could potentially be associated with the policy. Yeah, Andrew.
You can finish what you were saying, just in case. Okay, I couldn't, I can't say that this is the most asinine piece of selective legislative overreach based on pseudoscience that the legislature has ever passed. And they've done some really dumb things. And I kind of wish, I guess this will go to a main meeting because I kind of wish I could say that there. This is absolutely dumb. It doesn't apply to charter schools. Yeah. It doesn't apply to private schools. And so these dyes, which in the little sprinkles that they're going to have for birthday parties, don't even have a link, right, to hyperactivity, which is the concern for red dye number blue, right? But apparently charter school kids aren't impacted by dyes.
Yeah.
And so it's totally good for them, right? And then of course private school kids aren't impacted by things like school violence or dyes. And it's just so dumb and such an egregious overreach. And I don't know who in their right mind thought that it was okay to pass this law, and who thought it was okay to vote for this, and who thought it was okay after they put in the exceptions. So many people had to make really bad choices for us to get here.
They did.
And it's just, I'm just baffled as to how we have so many seemingly smart people who made so many poor choices to get us here. And I wish that this was the only example. It's just like today's example, but it's also one of the dumbest. It's just, it's horrible.
Mrs. Nybar.
I totally agree. And I think where we're really going to see people frustrated is elementary school birthday celebrations and PTA. And the problem is with this is, as we all know, this just absolutely adds fuel to the fire of oh my goodness, where is public school going now? We can't even do this. Take away one other tradition, something that's been such an embedded part of our school culture is birthday celebrations and little PTA stuff. So I think, I wanted to draw everyone's attention. This was Andrew's idea in policy committee, and I couldn't agree more, but we wanted to make sure that everyone understands this is not coming from us. And that's why it says Utah code, right there, but I also think it's really important that we as board members are very vocal about that too. Like, just so you know, when you see this, this has nothing to do with us. We don't, you know, this came to us and we don't agree. We just have to do it because I think that unfortunately the carve out for everyone else but us, it is very difficult not to think that this is a further ammunition towards public schools, so.
Mrs. Dolly, then Mrs. Peterson.
I mean, it's crazy. Well, but we can have it in the vending machine on our campuses,
Yeah.
but we can't serve it.
Yeah.
But
It's in
my big
box.
concern on this is we're putting the teachers in a position of
Yeah.
having to implement this law and be the enforcers of it, and I don't agree with that
At all.
I don't either.
The reality is there's not any teeth to the law, other than there'll be some parent that complains to legislature. But the rumor is now that we're banning candy in all of our schools, so we're
Yeah, one of the
Grinches.
One of the things we have annually is when a requirement gets put like this in statute, we typically have the assurances that we have it in that comes periodically from USBE. So we'll have it in that we have that. But
Mrs. Peterson.
I was just gonna say, the wellness committee doesn't like it any more than you do, but we are tasked with the reality of, okay, this is the stupid law, what are you gonna do with it? And we're not allowed to ignore it, versus the fact we could lose funding for all sorts of things. But I found it really interesting that you can't eat these things during school hours, but as soon as you go to the football game after school, it's all good.
It's fine from concessions.
From concessions and stuff like that. What we tried in our bigger list was to make it as least impactive on teachers. It basically went down to, they just need to notify the parents that a treat's going to be given and that they have to say that their child cannot have it. Otherwise, they assume they can. And that eliminates a lot of the hassle right there, because you only have a couple that are gonna be picky people. And that it really, unfortunately, would be put on the office, not on the teacher, to discipline them.
But not always with the office, like.
I know.
When I bring birthday treats in, I'm just coming straight to the classroom, it's in a bag, the office isn't checking.
Yeah.
I know.
Whether, and so, but you don't want it to be like, it's Johnny's birthday, and the teacher's like, oh, sorry, Johnny, we can't have the treat that
No,
you
they,
brought in because it has the dyes.
no, we can't withhold. Anyway, we talked for a great deal of time about that too, but just know that just because we made had to make some guidelines, that doesn't mean we necessarily completely support it. But that's no different than sheets, stuff on our windows and locks on our doors and fences on the thing that are,
Mr.
so,
first.
anyway.
I just want to add, I think this is complete virtue signaling from the legislature, and it is exactly the kind of national political interference that we as board members have warned is coming to our schools. This is a political agenda, this is a political play, this is all about politics. It's completely devoid, it's completely separate from what actually goes on in a classroom and actually how you're going to execute it. They took none of that into consideration. This is just, it's just writing policy on paper, politics on paper, and forcing us to.
Party politics. Because there's no law about how it's to be enforced. We don't have any food police stationed at the school, right? We don't have a special school guardian.
No, our guardian can
Food
guard us
guardian.
from food.
Yes.
We don't have a food guardian. It's one thing for us to be able to do what we can with providing it and not providing it.
Yeah.
But I also,
They don't.
I am not opposed to the idea with the communication with the birthday treats. Like you said, just, here's the law. Let me know if you have any kids who don't, who you don't want to have them eat the dyes. But otherwise, here it is. It's up to your own discretion, parents, because it's not really fair to make any of us the police, not the front office, not the teacher. And because the law doesn't have any enforcement written in, I don't really see why.
We were trying to make it an attitude change where if they're really sensitive to that, just being able to communicate that to the teacher. And then the other part is that we really are trying to get our students to be rewarded in ways other than food.
Right.
And we've been on that
For a long time.
point for a very long time. And if we have this could be a motivator to get parents to really think, is there something else I could provide? Because we have so many students with allergies and those kinds of issues. You know, the nurses say it's crazy, trying to get the kids that can't have things, what are we doing about them? Because they're already facing that food police thing themselves as nurses. So the only good thing to it is it could be a messaging situation where we say, if possible, let's not use food.
If we ever message this and say that, I am going to flip out so much. No kidding. Like, if we are going to push this to people, I am not going to be as held back as I am today.
And he's very helpful.
And our YouTube channel is going to get shut down for a day. So, but I wanted to make a comment on this note thing, and for those of you in policy committee, you heard me on this too. So I read, and I know it's not up there, new food standards for Utah schools. Canyon School District. That's what I read. No kidding.
That's true.
Our logo should be nowhere associated on anything with this. It is poison. This topic is poison. We cannot bring treats for my kid's birthday party is poison. We absolutely cannot put our logo anywhere near that. We can put the state's logo on it. I'm happy to put the state's, I think we could put the state seal on it.
Yeah, seconded.
That's a cool idea.
Our logo with that is poison.
Superintendent.
Is it, would it be appropriate to pull the memo that we planned on sending out to our faculty and staff until we further this conversation and actually address the policy?
Are you talking
have
about
addressed the
parents
policy.
or?
This is for parents.
I think it's
So,
fine to go to staff.
Because, so
Even
our,
still, with the staff memo, there at the very bottom, it talks about best practices, and best practices includes not using treats or food for rewards and different things like that.
so
would
for
hate for the
school
message.
level things, I feel like nothing's really changed except what can be sold in the school markets. Because we already had best practices for not using treats for awards. School lunches are not impacted by this at all. Vending machines are apparently not impacted because kids don't get hyperactive from vending machines. And so the only thing it impacts, I think, for school operations, and correct me if I'm wrong, is the school markets. The middle school and high school have markets, and so they won't be able to sell food anymore. Because there's no food that you can buy that don't have any of these dyes. Even the popcorn we have in the district has 2 of them. What I'm concerned about is the messaging being sent to parents. And I'm not opposed to a message like this being sent to parents and then us washing our hands of this asinine law. But it was mentioned, we can't be the food police for parents. All that will do is cause animosity toward teachers and principals.
Yep.
And of course, as the principal changes out, I don't remember who said it, that it's this new principal is horrible, right? We used to be able to have fun and parties, and I could bring these little cupcakes, which
That's right.
I'm already severely restricted for now because I can't bring treats from home, and I can't bring treats with this, and I can't bring treats with that. And now they're saying that you can't have birthdays, and you can't have fun, and you can't have anything that's nice in life. And so my concern is the messaging to the parents that needs to just not be, or maybe if anything, a page that has the state seal on it. Absolutely not ours. This comes from us, and we made this rule. Because you're not going to read the whole thing. All you're going to read is the big words at the top and the Canyons logo at the bottom, and it's our fault and we did it. And this is such a small thing that literally has 0 health impacts for anyone, but it is
Could be.
it's so huge in how what it's going to do to people.
Well, and one thing we need to be sensitive to is all those new principals that have put into the schools. We do not want any of the parents to believe it's the principal that came in here that has these different political views and wants to do, the amount of speculation that will go on is ridiculous. And so, that's the other part of it. And we've talked about birthday celebrations, but it's also every Valentine's and Christmas party where they're decorating sugar
Party.
conversation hearts. I mean, the whole gamut. And so I think we have to be really creative with our communication and messaging, because I think with our communication and messaging, it's important for for probably the public to understand that this in no wise represents what we personally believe, and that there's a large level of frustration on our end. Because I think that unless they actually get that actual message, I was just at a neighborhood party this last weekend, and I think more often than not, it's either legislation or higher level policy that's being enacted in the schools, and parents are making judgment calls based on the administrator and what are their values. So it's.
Good point.
Okay, good discussion. I think we better move on, but did you have something?
I want to bring up the memo once again, and the reason why I feel like I want to bring this up and just to get some clarity here, especially because this would be going to all of our faculty on Thursday, and then the rest of our staff starting Monday. And the memo starts off by saying, beginning the 26-27 school year, food sold, donated, offered, or served to students during the school day, gives a timeline, may not contain the following additives used unless legal exception applies. Then it lists all the dyes, and then it says the code, this does apply to the following: celebrations, teacher rewards, class birthday treats. So if we're giving this to our faculty and staff, I promise you, and any of our teachers in the room or educators in the room will attest to, some people are going to take this and that's immediately going to be built into my communication to my parents, because I'm thinking about it right now and I'm preparing it for the upcoming school
Which is
year.
why we were rushed to get it done.
And so again, if we need to hit pause on this, I would highly recommend that we do until
should.
this discussion is completed and the policy is firmly
I think, I
discussed.
think the policy committee should discuss that again. Mrs. Oak.
So if you look up the voting on this, it's actually not as strongly politically, it was across both party lines, just FYI.
What's the number of the bill?
Yeah, Susan.
402.
It was
402 in 2020.
It was kind of balanced between both, and I'm gonna push back a little bit. There are a lot of parents who feel like some of these food dyes and additives do exacerbate some of their neurodivergent kids' issues.
Yep.
Whether it's autism, ADHD, some of those other things. And before we jump down the throats of our legislature about it, I do think it's very poorly thought through, and like a lot of pieces of legislation that come through that they approve, they are not talking to those of us on the ground who are making these local decisions. But I have already heard from some parents who are happy about it. So I think we have to be a little bit careful about saying this is, like, people are only gonna see this one way. I think it's a little bit more
They'll see it the
nuanced
other
than
way.
perhaps we're giving it credit for. And I'm not saying that I think that this is what should go down. I'm just saying there are other perspectives on this.
If I were to share just one more thought or recommendation, and that would be ultimately, because of that very thing, and it's already been discussed a little bit, we need to remove this from our teachers and our
Yes.
school-based
Yeah.
principals from the policing and the
Yes.
decision-making, because you will have teachers, even as teammates, fourth grade teachers.
Yep.
I'm gonna be very passionate about this because I have a child who
Yep.
may be affected by these, whereas Karen doesn't necessarily feel that way, and now I'm no longer the fun person. Karen is the fun person who creates all these issues, and so if we are going to head down this path, in my humble opinion, it should be a district-wide established decision rather than a school-based and or classroom-based.
Yes.
It's not intended to be school.
I agree.
So, anyway, just
I
one.
agree.
I agree. But I don't think we should be as extreme as that. I do feel like we need to give parents that opportunity to express or be at least notified that these things are there.
No, I wonder, did you talk about something at registration where parents could okay it?
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
Cause that would,
Yes, it's just not on there.
yeah.
It's no different than saying you can't do a survey or do whatever. Literally, that's the level that we have it at. And I think if we've notified parents and they have an opportunity to respond, that's kind of as far as we're gonna go too much with it. We've given you the information. We would prefer that this be the case, but I don't know that we're gonna police it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know that we need to react quite so strongly.
Sounds like we're gonna police it if we're gonna put something on registration, huh?
No.
I think put
That's
some on
information.
registration gives us more flexibility.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, because that's the exception in the law.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we can bring this back for our policy discussion. I mean,
Yeah.
the policy itself,
Thought.
it's an implementation discussion. The policy is straightforward. It's a statute.
We have to adopt it.
We have to adopt it, so I don't think that should slow the policy moving forward, but I think rollout is a broader discussion.
Rollout and enforcing and.
And that can be another discussion for another day. So, you know, great topic. A lot of these sentiments took time in our cabinet meeting. It's on the statutes, it's a law, we need to comply. How we comply and having it in our books is where we need to go.
Susan Edwards wants to.
Yeah, go ahead, Susan.
Additional little tiny point of clarification is they did actually have a cleanup bill this year that the House voted all but one to pass the cleanup bill that would have included charter schools, and did some other things as far as donations, but it did not make it through the Senate. So they did try to have a cleanup bill this year, it did not make it through.
Is there a good possibility they'll bring it again?
So then,
Good possibility that they will have it on our radar and we'll watch for it.
so the one feedback probably for moving forward is with the exhibit, the infographic, right? The change.
Yeah, the infographic, we can edit that, that's great.
Reevaluate everything.
Yeah.
Perfect.
This one is short. Technology resources. This is in line with statute, a lot of definitions. The main change here is most of our middle schools already went to a bell-to-bell ban. This last year, they're all there. That's really, they all are, and so it's really a minor change. It's got the statutory definitions required by the technology update. It's really just cleaning up the policy and making that more clear district-wide. So, that's it.
Mrs. Oaks.
Real quick, to that point.
Yes.
I knew that there was a pocket of kids from the Coatwood Heights area that were for a while going over to Churchill because they had some of these policies in place before we did. I just wonder, Kirsten, whether or not it would be worthwhile for more parents to be aware that we do have some of these policies. As we're going to less tech, which is where a lot of parents are requesting some of that, like, just to make it clear, like, we have that, the kids are, they're talking. They're spending time.
I actually wanted to get, like, follow up with students, to just talk to them about how it's made different.
It's a great idea.
That's good.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Okay, Tom Sherwood, can you do this in 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going on to the next item. Item E.
Yes.
Joke.
Transition Life Skills Academy and Entrada.
You something, Tom?
We used to eat glue and smell rubber cement. We weren't worried about the dyes.
He still does, I'm just saying.
Explains so much.
Maybe it was just me. Yeah.
Okay, for the 2027 school year.
Yes. So I would just ask to come and have a very short conversation about kind of what are some of the benefits that we might see if we were to put LSA and Entrada in the same building. I'll try to hit the hot points. I wrote some of them down. If you have questions after, let me know. I can make copies of this and email it to you if you want. Send it to you. I didn't make a slideshow. First one is we do need additional room at Diamond Ridge. They're at capacity. We turn kids away from Diamond Ridge because they have no more space to grow. So that's a significant need we have. Entrada also could use some room to grow. They turn away adults and we don't turn away hardly any school-aged youth. And I don't know how many of you know this, but Entrada also serves a large number of school-aged youth that are severely credit deficient. They go and enroll in the adult high school as a quasi-dropout. But if they can get their credits in recovery and get to a point where they can graduate, as long as they do so before their cohort graduates, they can still graduate. And Entrada has saved a lot of kids, both in Canyons District and in exterior districts that are taking advantage of that, especially in Granite, as Granite only does a GED program. So we serve a lot of students in getting them back on track to a path to graduation, both school age and adults. The bulk of the students that go to Entrada are under 22. We very rarely have adults of more aged categories, but it's fairly young population. And the benefits of having these in the same building is a lot of the students who come back to graduate from high school also were on IEPs. And because they're on IEPs, we can receive federal funding in addition to adult ed funding to educate them as they're entitled to public education until they're 22. So putting it in the same building allows for a lot of crossover services. We only had one student from LSA this year that was taking classes through Entrada to earn a diploma. I feel like if we put them in the same building, we would see more of those students taking advantage of the opportunity to actually get a diploma. Something that Stacy brought to our attention is, we put these students in LSA to teach them how to ride a bus and how to get a job, and they're competing for jobs with everybody else. And if we can get them a diploma, in addition to teaching them the life skills, it really is a feather in their cap to compete against their peers, even for entry-level positions. So, it helps reduce the negative stigma with both schools. We like the idea, the location. If we do consider putting it in Bella Vista, it's a fantastic location for access to community partners without needing to access public transportation. It's all walkable. We feel like very optimistic we could create some good partnerships. And kind of as a bigger picture idea, we really like the idea of creating like an adult community center that houses Entrada, houses LSA. We would also be able to house community ed programs there after hours. We could develop partnerships with Workforce Services, which we put people in our building that worked for pre-ets and for voc rehab. I feel like we could really serve the greater adult community in a lot of educational capacities if we were to take advantage of this space in the right way.
Okay, great. Board, are there any questions or comments? Yeah, Mrs. Pedersen.
I just wanted to verify that myself, so I went and talked with both Mark and, well, I haven't talked, well, Amy, Mark, and Stacy. Actually, I've talked to all three. And Mark is exceptionally excited about the possibilities that open up that he cannot provide at his current location. Being over in the other is actually easier for his students. I don't know if you know that most of the students that are going to both Diamond Ridge and Entrada get off tracks and walk up from Jordan to school. They're not driving to school. Most of these kids don't drive. They don't have licenses, and they're walking up. So having an opportunity to have a bus stop right there, it'd be very helpful for those Entrada students particularly, and for the life skills. So all they could tell me is how they felt. They love working together. Amy and Mark love working together, but they felt that the benefits far outweighed by the opportunities that those students would be provided. So I feel very good about that because I wasn't sure how they felt about it.
Thank you. I do have a question. So you know how we modified Bellevue, like, are we gonna need to modify the building?
Just have to make another entrance.
If any modification, most of the modifications at Diamond Ridge were for Diamond Ridge. The only thing we might have to do is separate the two programs. We don't necessarily want them intermingling willy-nilly. We'd like it to be two schools in the same space. But I don't think that would entail very much.
But there are different hallways.
Yes, yeah, no, I think
also
it'd be a minimal modifications.
They're not there bell to bell either.
No, they.
Life skills is there in the majority of the day, and then Entrada starts in the afternoon and goes into the evening.
Entrada's like
So
10 to 6, and Life Skills is a traditional schedule. There's only
Correct,
2 hours of
correct.
overlap.
There's a little bit of overlap, but
They like the large classrooms of the building. They really feel like
Really
that's
cool.
a benefit to the programs, so.
And then with the space that opens up, it's just better for Diamond Ridge because
They can expand it.
they can expand
they
it.
expand.
Okay, what do we need? Do we need to notify anyone? You know how like, what's the legal process we need to go through to make this happen? Anyway, just be thinking through now.
I think because it's a moving,
Moving,
especially with the special
Life
ed
skills, you'd have to tell
applications.
them.
Yeah, life skills, we have to.
I'm not so sure Entrada.
we'd have to give notice to Life Skills. No, we're not changing a boundary or anything. The boundary's the whole district.
The location.
Because the law says that we have to be
Well,
notified.
we probably have to meet with parents and. Okay. Well, thank you. We'll just move the superintendent listening report to item A of new business. Okay, so whoever moves that motion. And thank everyone. We will now have 5-minute break and start. Thank you, Tom. Okay, welcome to the meeting of the Canyons Board of Education. Today is June 2nd, 2026, and we're meeting at the district office located at 9361 South 300 East in Sandy, Utah. And the first item on the agenda today is to approve the agenda, and please don't forget that item from study that we're bringing forward.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda for tonight. Changing you want me to do that right now? Okay.
Yeah.
Removing the superintendent listening tour review, Dr. McKay Robinson, from study session C and moving that to new business item A, and then the budget update would be moved down to item B.
Okay, perfect. We have a motion for the agenda for tonight. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for tonight, June 2nd, 2026. Is there any comments or discussion to that? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you. That motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the Pledge of Allegiance, and that will be by Mindy Robison, Assistant Superintendent. Okay, thank you. We are now going to move on to Canyon Strong Employee Recognitions, and this will be by Jeff Haney, Director, and Kirsten Stewart, Associate Director of Communications.
Thank you, President Schill, for this time to recognize the achievements of Canyon's employees. We certainly ended the year Canyon strong, as you will see from this week's recognitions. Now, during the study session, the board heard a report on the successful year of the Canyons Education Foundation, which is the fundraising arm of the school district. One of the people who has been with the foundation from the very beginning is our first honoree, Brad Snow. Now, the past 17 years have been a period of great growth for Canyon School District. We have developed a reputation as an academically, artistically, and athletically strong district that is responsive to the community it serves. And we have earned that reputation thanks to the strong school-to-home connection, as well as our amazing faculty and staff, and our partnerships to industry and to businesses. One of the people who has had a front row view at the historic creation of Canyon School District also has played a key role in our growth. This is Brad Snow, our friend who is right there. Let's give him a round of applause. He has served with us since the very inception of the Canyons Education Foundation. He was president for several terms and was the driving force behind the launch of scholarships that are announced the night of our spring gala. And Brad's work with Canyons also extended past the fun of handing out checks or hosting banquets or welcoming our golfers at the fundraising tournament. He also worked on our steering committees for our bond measures, and he stepped up big to promote and lead the citizens' effort to raise private funds to raise awareness for our 2017 bond initiative. And that $283 million bond, it was approved by nearly 60% of the vote. That allowed Canyon School District to transform and modernize facilities across the district. In the foundation, millions have been donated, and we've had millions of in-kind dollars later. Plus, there's been countless hours in meetings and a time that he spent volunteering with the foundation. But he says all of that is worth it. In his resignation letter that he provided to the foundation, he said he experienced great joy at seeing what the grants and scholarships can do for teachers, students, and their families.
It's for all of these reasons and many, many more that the Board of Education paused tonight to honor the contributions of Mr. Brad Snow for his efforts and dedication on behalf of all Canyon School District students, teachers, staff, and of course, our parents. Brad, will you please come forward to accept a gift from the Canyons Board and Administration? President Chill has it for you. Let's give him another round of applause as he comes forward. Brad, would you come over here for a second, and just for a few seconds? Yes, right here. See, this is the microphone. We talk into that. I know you've done it before because as the president of the foundation board, you gave many addresses about how important it is for our community to support our students. Would you just talk for a few seconds about what it was like to serve on the foundation board from its very inception?
Well, when I first started on the foundation board, I was also part of the chamber, the Sandy Area Chamber of Commerce, doing service on both boards. And I had to make a choice of which one I wanted to stay on. It wasn't a hard choice. I chose education, and it's been the right choice all along. It's been a passion. It's been something that I have never had fear or trepidation or not want to serve and do things. To see, the biggest thing was divvying out the grants, because you can see the emotion in the kids and the teachers, and that's what it's all about. For education, it's easy to raise money, it's easy to work, it's easy to serve. So I've appreciated the support of the district, of the board, of our board members, and I know they're in good hands. I know the foundation's gonna move on and continue its upward trajectory as it always has been. So I appreciate the recognition in all of you, and I close with that. Thank you.
Well, I certainly hope that we're going to continue to see you and Janelle at all of the galas. Yes? Okay, she says yes, so I guess he has a date to our future foundation galas. We appreciate the Snows and all that they have done for Canyon School District since our very first days. Now, the next honoree is the winner of this year's rodeo, the driving competition for Utah school bus drivers. Canyons District's Terry Brown. She extended our streak of bringing home the trophy at the Utah School Bus Safety Skills Competition. She took first place and she earned a trip to the international competition in Texas this summer. Our other driver, Jeremy Klunk, took third place. He was hoping for a third consecutive first place win. He finished in the top three, but still, out of the top three, we had two of those. Those are our school bus drivers, and we are incredibly proud of them. We hosted this competition at Crescent View Middle School. It brought together nearly 30 drivers from 10 school districts across the state to compete in a series of very demanding safety and precision challenges. It was designed to simulate real-world driving conditions. And man, it was tough. It also drew spectators. We saw Dr. Robinson there, Mr. Wilcox was there, and that cute little kiddo right there in the Canyons District cap. Well, he loves to stand outside my house and wave at the school buses that drive past our house every single day. That's my little grandson, Jupiter. He got to ride on a school bus that day. It's been the highlight of his year. It also got him ready for the fall. He's so excited for preschool at Sprucewood Elementary Schools. We also want to commend Special Education Director Terry Mitchell and our Early Childhood Development Specialist Stephanie Peterson for the hard work they put in to having amazing evidence-based preschools all across Canyons. If you haven't had a chance to check out our preschools, we tell our community, please do so. They're the best around. We're excited to see what Jupiter can accomplish in the coming year at a Canyons District preschool. He's so excited to be a Falcon. We're going to talk about the Falcons next. This was an amazing day. Speaking of Sprucewood, our next honorees know how to respond as quick as Falcons to crises at the school. On May 14th, the team at Sprucewood Elementary demonstrated extraordinary teamwork during a life-threatening emergency involving a first-grade student in a special education classroom. The student began choking, and the teacher, Ashton Brown, immediately cleared the room and called for support from the school nurse, Tonya Wade. Tonya responded without hesitation. She directed front office staff member Ray Henline to call 911 while she was administering life-saving measures. Ray stayed on the phone with the emergency dispatch while Becky Scroggin radioed administration and coordinated communication in the school. The AFM, Lane Brown, ensured that emergency personnel could access the classroom with minimal delay. Meanwhile, classroom paraprofessionals calmly transitioned students outside during this crisis with the student. They went outside for an impromptu recess with chalk and bubbles to maintain a sense of normalcy and emotional support and safety. The student's one-on-one nurse kept the parents of the child that was in distress informed the entire time, even FaceTiming them and letting them know what was happening, and assuring them that things were being handled appropriately while the emergency responders were en route. Wendy Christiansen, a paraprofessional and a nurse, worked side by side with our school nurse, providing critical assistance during this emergency response. And because of the calm leadership, seamless collaboration, and unwavering dedication to student safety, the child's life was saved. It was quite a day at Sprucewood Elementary School. It was also a time when our community had heightened concerns about emergency responders at our schools. And even though it didn't have anything to do with emergencies at other schools, it certainly did show us how our folks respond in a crisis. They are truly Canyon strong. We are so glad that they did what they did in this life-saving measure for a first grade special education student, and we thank them for their hard work. Principal Dr. Ashley Lennox says their actions exemplify the very best of education, compassion, and professionalism. We also wanted to mention the Sprucewoods faculty and staff who worked so hard on the year-end musical. I sat next to Mrs. Oakes during the Granny Awards at Sprucewood. This year, instructional coach Christina Van Dam went above and beyond, as she always does when she directed this musical. The school's spring musical, it was complete with amazing costumes, as you can see. They had choreography, songs, and you know what? They needed a few more speaking parts. So Christina turned to technology, and she helped write some commercials that were acted in the musical. It was so creative and fun. But you know, our employees are Canyon strong away from school too. And Christina recently completed her first ever marathon, the Ogden Marathon. So congratulations to Christina on these two accomplishments. Both at school and away, we are involved in the community, and our employees truly are Canyon strong. Now, through laughter and tears, we recently said goodbye to our retirees, 58 in all. They have decided to start a new chapter in their lives after collectively contributing 1,550 years of service in the public schools. Now, one of our retirees was our former superintendent, Dr. Rick Robbins, who literally and metaphorically handed off the ball to Dr. Robinson. And we have also, you can see there the photographs of some of the things that happened at the night of the retirees banquet. We also have had open houses to celebrate our retirees at schools and departments across the district. One of the biggest and best attended was for my friend, and I know Mr. Lewis's, Shar Graham from East Midvale. In fact, I saw Jackson there that day. Before Shar's last day, the school unveiled a sign that dedicates the school's garden to Shar's 47 years of service. From now on, East Midvale's spot inside the school for flowers and other lash plants will be known as Graham's Garden. To all of our retirees, we wish you much luck and happiness and joy in whatever you decide to do in your next chapters. Now, when he shoots, he scores. Now, we know that, and I certainly know that because he was a star hoops player at his and my alma mater, Roy High School. And it was certainly true when he hit the courts as an Aggie. Reed Newey is the Canyons Innovation Center Director here in Canyon School District, and we congratulate one of our own in being inducted into the Utah State University Athletics Hall of Fame. Reed played for the Aggies before returning as an assistant coach. While as a player, he was a first-team All-Big West Conference selection and still ranks among the Aggies' all-time best players, and he's the 13th leading scorer in program history with 1,536 career points. That's a huge honor, Reed. Congratulations on being inducted into the Utah State Athletics Hall of Fame. Now, every year, the state honors teachers with awards, and they're the Science of Reading Awards. In recent weeks, representatives from the state board visited Canyon School District, and they provided these awards. They gave and surprised some of our amazing teachers with the Science of Reading Award. These are the educators who are doing so much to promote literacy in their classrooms. So congratulations to Bernice Allen in our Instructional Supports Department, Leanne Fisher, also in ISD, and from Granite Elementary School, Tiffany Smith, from Bella Vista Elementary, Tamara Combs, and from Altera Elementary, Peyton Dahlmeyer. So congratulations to our teachers and staff who won these amazing Science of Literacy Awards. And Union Middle teacher Brooke Grant continues to impress her alma mater even after graduation, not to mention the impact that she is having on her school community right here in the Canyon School District. She was recently presented with the Utah Valley College of Education Alumni Award. The nomination for Mrs. Grant says her impact extends beyond the stage. She helps students build confidence, collaboration skills, and a sense of belonging. Her dedication to inclusive practices and student-centered learning makes her a truly deserving candidate for this award. Canyons, you can see there that the award ceremony was attended by our next Assistant Superintendent, Mindy Robinson, and Union Principal, and our next Middle Schools Director, Angie Holden. They joined the Grant family in the celebration at Utah Valley University. Congratulations to her, Brooke Grant, a Union teacher who won Utah Valley University's Education Alumni Award. Now, I also want to give applause to CSD TV's Ryan Wild for taking his camera behind the scenes at Hillcrest's recent production of Phantom of the Opera. CSD TV's debut documentary called A Look Behind the Mask, the making of Hillcrest Theater's Phantom of the Opera, will be available for screening tomorrow starting at 6 o'clock on CSD TV. It's about 30 minutes of footage and interviews with the people who brought the music of the night to life at Hillcrest. And this show recently won 2 technical awards for the show at the Utah High School Musical Theater Awards. The documentary was a labor of love for Ryan. I assigned it to him, and he did so under great duress. But he did a phenomenal job piecing together what it was like to put together this Tony Award-winning show. I'm sure that the soundtrack haunts his dreams, but after all of the editing he's done for our CSD TV documentary, he will sing the songs as he is walking down the hallways of the district office. We invite the entire Canyons community to grab some popcorn, curl up, and learn what it took for our school to bring the Tony Award-winning musical to life on the Hillcrest stage. President Schill, before summer starts in earnest, we have just one more graduation ceremony. That's Entrada Adult High School. Their rites will be on June 10th. After that, the strains of pomp and circumstance won't be heard again until next spring for the class of 2027. But we also, at this time, want to thank our Canyons Strong commencement committees at Alta, Brighton, Corner Canyon, Diamond Ridge, Hillcrest, and Jordan High Schools. Those committees work incredibly hard to make the day special, and by all accounts, the ceremonies were well planned and worthy of 1,000 memories, or I guess I should say 2,026 memories for the class of 2026, the 17th in Canyon's district history. In 17 years, President Chill, we've become Canyon strong, even stronger than we were before. Graduates, do us proud. Congratulations. We turn the time back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Haney. We have now come to the patron comment portion of our meeting. The board often designates time in meetings to listen to the patrons of the district. Patron comment time is limited to residents and taxpayers of Canyon's district, students and parents of students, and current employees of the district. Patrons may provide board members with written documents, and these documents must be submitted to the board secretary at the meeting or emailed to the Office of Public Communications by noon of the following day after the board meeting. Tonight, individuals will be given 3 minutes, and those representing groups will be given 5 minutes. Comments made during patron comment time are part of the public record. It is the board's practice to listen and take notes during patron comments. The Board of Education does not discuss matters that are not on the meeting's agenda, nor engage in public comment on individual students to protect their privacy or employee issues. If a patron wants to comment on a district employee's character, professional competence, or mental or physical health, the board requests that those comments be submitted to the board in writing. However, if the patron determines to verbally comment on those personnel issues, the comments need to be civil and refrain from personal attacks, insults, defamatory, or slanderous comments about an individual. The Board of Education values input on all sides of issues. To maintain decorum and respect, we ask that those in attendance refrain from applause or other types of demonstrations during the patron comment time, as well as throughout the meeting. Tonight, we first have Dennis Laganes. Please come up and correct how to say your last name. I'm sorry about that. And okay, say that one more time in the microphone.
Lagodimos.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Robinson. I just want to introduce myself. I'm running for Canyon's Board of Education District 5. I was going to wait for after the primaries, and I guess the candidate dropped, and here I am. So I just want to introduce myself to you guys, tell you that if in the event I do get elected, I look forward to working with all of you. I'm a husband, a loving father. I've got 2 boys in the Canyon School District. They're high schoolers. All my passion is my boys. Care a lot about their future. I just want to be a voice for the community. That's it. I'm a simple guy. Simple as that. So, yeah, I just want to introduce myself and say good evening. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Jason Maldonado, then Brianne England.
How you guys doing? I'm Jason Maldonado. Thank you guys for being here. Biggest reason I'm here is a little bit concerned with my community about the closing of the schools. Kind of don't understand things as a taxpayer here. I think my hardest thing I'm trying to comprehend is, on one hand, we're trying to say we don't have enough kids for schools, but then we're going to open up another school. We're going to spend a lot of money on another school. And by doing that, it's going to raise our taxes in our homes. And our taxes are already very high for our homes. And I wish there was more people here, because I want to let them know that I know you guys do listen. And you take in account of everything. You're not just trying to do anything you want to do. I know that from experience. So, you know, I hope we can work together and find a common ground of what makes sense, right? Because I think a lot of things are uncertain, and we can move through that and try to make sure families and communities stick together. They're very important, and that's why people live in our community, right? We start selling off lands and schools and things like that. I think it's there's a big unknown. Secondly, I would love to, is it Mr. Robinson? I'd love to get to know you and talk to you and all of you actually on a one-to-one. I have some concerns about Jordan High School. I think they're probably best if we meet.
And then we'll talk about things and you guys can decide how you want to move forward right there. But they're very important things, and my goal is to not embarrass anybody, which is why I would rather meet. I think I've left a message on for you to get a hold of me just today. So you're not late. I left a message, yes, with your secretary. So hopefully you can get a hold of me and we can arrange some type of meeting where I can talk to you about my concerns. They're very important. I think you guys will be surprised what I know to be true. And that's it. Thank you guys very much for what you do. I know it's not easy, so thank you.
Okay, thank you. Brianne England.
Hi. I'm here on behalf of Granite. You all know because I come all the time. But members of the Granite community and staff came to you guys in February of 2025 asking you for help. For 9 months, we participated in the boundary study process, believing that that help would come through. We engaged in good faith, attended meetings, provided feedback, and trusted the process. However, today, many families and staff feel our school is in a worse position than where we started. And frankly, we are exhausted. So I'm sure you are too. Over the last 2 weeks, I spent many hours at Granite attending end-of-year events, and I wanted to come here tonight to share what I consistently heard from families and staff. Overall, many do not feel heard. They feel that their concerns go unanswered, their emails receive little or no response, and issues they raise are not meaningfully addressed. Many do not feel comfortable communicating their opinions with the board, and as a result, many have lost confidence that their participation makes a difference. At the last board meetings, some members of the board expressed disappointment that more Granite parents and staff were not present. However, these are the same parents and teachers who, during the busiest weeks of the month or of the year, were finishing student portfolios, planning field days, supporting sports playoffs, attending soccer tryouts, dance performances, piano recitals, and countless other commitments. Many simply do not have the time, energy, or emotional bandwidth to attend another meeting. When people feel their voices do not matter, it becomes harder and harder to ask them to continue to participate. Granite is now facing an allocation of just 10 teachers next year. Staff members are being forced into new positions by administration. Families are discussing leaving the school, and sense of stability in our school has been deeply shaken. My own first grader recently asked me if I thought he would have the same 5th grade teacher as his older brother. I realized I couldn't answer him. I don't even know what school he will attend in 5th grade, let alone who his teacher will be. That uncertainty weighs heavily on families and especially on these children. They should not have to live with that uncertainty for the next 2 or 3 years as our school continues to bleed out. I encourage you to come to a Granite event. Come and talk with us directly, face to face, and not rely on communication via email. At the end of the day, trust in this district depends on people feeling heard, valued, and respected. Right now, many in the Granite community do not feel that way. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So now we are going to go on with our agenda, and the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and I will now take a motion to approve that, and please read each of the items separately.
I'll make that motion. So I'd like to make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, which includes item A, approval of minutes for May 19th, 2026. Item B, approval of hire and termination reports. Item C, approval of purchasing bids. Item D, approval of business administrator contract from July 1st, 2026 to June 30th, 2028. Item E, approval to commit proposed property tax increase revenues in general fund balance. And item F, approval of administrative appointments.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second to that?
I'll make that second.
Okay, who was that? Karen. Okay, Karen seconded that. Okay, is there any discussion to those items? Okay, seeing none, I will call for a vote that we approve the consent agenda as read. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes unanimously. Okay, we are now on to new business, and we will start with item A, and that is the superintendent listening tour review, and that is by Dr. McKay Robinson, our almost superintendent.
Well, we will refer to this as the almost superintendent's listening tour summary then. But no, in all seriousness, I'm grateful for the opportunity to stand and discuss this wonderful practice that Dr. Robbins put in place. And fortunately for me, over the several years that I was serving in the assistant superintendent role, I had the pleasure of attending probably around 85 to 90% of these, and tried to be to almost everyone that I could. So for this school year, this is a summary for the ones that took place this school year, but there will also be some information in there that kind of encompasses the 4 years that these have been in place, and then we'll talk a little bit about the future as well. So first and foremost, just to give you a quick idea of all the listening tours that took place over the last 6 months, and I shouldn't say the last 6 months, but in between September and February. After the February date, Leon and myself simply went to the different schools and met with the administration to talk about some things and offered some things up. But this is a summary or encompasses all the information that took place in that 6-month window. So you can see all the different groups that were met with. We had 22 elementary schools, 2 middle schools, 2 high schools, 2 special programs, and then we had the 7 different employee groups, and they're all listed in there. And this basically gets to the overall data or the information that was shared. And I wanted to first start off by sharing some of the celebrations as well as the things that have taken place throughout those years. You will notice the information on the left are just some of the key themes that came out this year, whereas the things on the right are the pieces of information that came out in the listening tours from 23 to 26 and that have been worked on and or are still in the process of being worked on. And I'm happy to report that a very key theme was there was a lot of appreciation, if you will, expressed by the teachers and staff in regards to these 4 particular areas. Specifically the additional planning time that was put in place, assistant principals in several of our elementary schools, and child care benefits that came about, and then also just a greater attention, if you will, to the wellness. And just to give you an idea of what the employee wellness is addressing, as well as the increase that we had. Some of the main areas that they were extremely grateful for is the expanded on-site daycare for employees and their children. Middle school gyms have been opened up for our employees to access and to get some exercise in at no cost to them. And then the expanded maternity, parental leave, and then personal leave benefits, as well as some employee wellness rooms throughout the district and the different schools. And all of this information and everything that has been put in place and worked on over the years has actually led to a 24% gain in teacher job satisfaction across the district, which is an awesome area to celebrate and to definitely recognize. So we're grateful for all the work that's been done by many people to make these things happen. You will notice that we have a few lingering stressors, if you will, or areas of concern, and we'll jump into those here a little bit more throughout the following slides. And you'll first notice that underneath, in the blue box, under support, staffing, and caseloads, you'll see that number there, and you'll see that a number similar on the different pages or future slides. And that is basically an indicator of how many times these phrases or these subject areas came up in these different conversations throughout the different schools. And so more specifically to our special education as well as 504s, we continue to hear about high caseloads, IEP workload and paperwork, and everything else that's listed there. We had a few employees that spoke very adamantly about the paraeducators and how they're being paid, and is there a way to continue to incentivize or to draw them into these schools. It's a very difficult job. And so those are ongoing things. Terry Mitchell, our Director of Special Ed, has been tasked with looking into ways of addressing all of these different areas. That does not mean that we will be able to address absolutely everything, but it is certainly something, as was mentioned in the patron comments, this is definitely a group that listens and hears from our employees as well, and we certainly try to do with what we can with what we have, and the continued difficulties that we face with just funding in general. Moving on to the boundary study, this has obviously been a very hot topic over the last few years, if you will. And you'll see here that the concerns that are continuing to be raised is the FTE reductions, with obligatory transfers. That is something that is being looked at overall within our policy committee. And they'll continue to look at ways of best addressing that. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a future slide as well. But the concerns continue to come up even about the magnet programs or the sustainability of certain programs that we have in place, DLI being one, for example. Just the feeder systems in general, are there inequities across the board, and then concerns about some of our aging elementary school infrastructures and system failures as well as ADA accessibility. One of the things that was brought up, and I thought this would be some interesting information to share with you, but the quote or someone had shared, if we were to add more preschools, it'd be a great way to attract some of our schools. In our previous study session, we talked a little bit about our preschools, which is awesome. I don't know if you know to what extent or how those numbers have continued to grow, but we used to only have 10 programs throughout the district. We now have 25. And those 25 programs across the district requires currently 90 employees, roughly. And those are everywhere from teachers, paras, SLPs, and so forth. And that funding is largely based on our special ed funding as well as the tuition based. And so if we were to grow that, it would be something that we would have to seriously consider or look at, but just keeping in mind the amount of funding that goes into that as well. But I'm just quite thrilled, to be honest, that we've been able to increase that number, and Terry Mitchell and her team have done such an exceptional job making it such a wonderful program. And as we talked about in the previous meeting, the students that are joining our preschools, about 70% are staying and continuing on through kindergarten as well. So it's a great recruitment, if you will, and helping students to see and understand how great our schools really are, and then they choose to stay. Class sizes continue to be a concern that came up throughout. One of the main concerns is when we start to hit classrooms of 30 plus. We've talked about that quite readily, quite regularly, and that's something that we all share concerns with and about, and we continue to look at those and will. Oftentimes, if you recall, even last year, we had a certain number of students that were fully enrolled in our schools, and we thought they were showing up for the first day of school, and then the first day of school came and those students were no longer in our schools, and there were several things that took place that led to that we continue to have a dramatic drop, and we're trying to address things the best that we possibly can, but we will continue to look at those and address as needs do arise. But the enrollment continuing to decline. And then looking at student behavior, we have escalating behaviors, aggression toward teachers and staff, the need for more behavioral support personnel, and then student absenteeism. All areas that Dr. McGill and his team, as well as our MTSS team, are discussing twice, sometimes 3 times a month in our MTSS meetings, and looking at ways to provide different supports and trainings and even personnel where needed. We have some great things that have been put in place with our Thrive Chime, but there's always plenty of work to be done. This little quote here on the side, when it talks about the clear and transparent way of determining staffing, one thing that I continue to remind myself is what's very clear in my mind does not necessarily mean that that's clear in the minds of everyone else that I'm working with. And it's amazing how many times I have had to have that conversation with different individuals, and that only speaks to Not that people are uninformed or not aware of how things are done. It really just comes down to we need to do a better job of being more transparent with how it all works and how it rolls out. And I think with the obligatory transfers and everything and possible school closures, it really will just provide an avenue, if you will, to be very transparent with all of that. We have to also be very careful and cautious with specific numbers. That's always something that a lot of individuals have held on to when they look at FTE, and they'll see a certain number and they believe that means that automatically we now qualify for an additional teacher. Unfortunately, that's not necessarily what that means. It simply is a kind of some guidelines, if you will, and we try to adhere to those because we too believe the importance of class sizes and how to best support. But these are just all areas that came up in those specific areas. And then dual immersion, and then planning and prep time. As you know, we've had to move to a one-class cohort for 2 of our programs at Silver Mesa as well as Oak Hollow. We had the conversation as well at Lone Peak Elementary, and they were able to get a few more students that didn't require that shift. But with declining enrollment, this continues to be a challenge and a problem that we will continue to look at, and I know this is part of the comprehensive discussion as well. But that also leads to just the fear of losing programs or teachers when you're moving or shifting. What does that mean for those teachers that have been doing this for several years? And then also with the visas and green cards, just some of the uncertainties that are there. And I think that was expressed by one of our patron comments as well. Just there's a feeling of uncertainty, and we certainly want to do our best to try and provide some of that clarity as well as understanding of what's coming. But at the same time, I also question at times what's next and what are our numbers going to look like tomorrow and the following day and the next year and so forth. And so we are doing the best with what we have, and we'll continue to address all of these. And then planning and prep time, the frustration when prep days become PD heavy. We most recently were working with our CEA team and in negotiations in different areas, and were able to put out a nice statement that also really addressed the week before and the week of parent-teacher conferences. So I'm very grateful that we were able to work through that to avoid any sort of mandatory meetings during those 2 weeks to give them the chance to truly become prepared and plan and be ready for not only the parent-teacher conferences, but the days of teaching as well. But then you can also see that there's been some interest shared regarding remote work or paid leave and transparency flexibility, as well as the calendar adjustments that we talked a little bit about that in the previous meeting. Those were more specific to our high school, but there are these other areas that are more for the broader calendar. And this has been passed along to our calendar committee, and several teachers that have also expressed interest have already been added to that group moving forward as well. So I'm excited to report that. And then these are just some of the other areas that were less frequent but did come up in several different areas. And I think one of the biggest ones is on that far right-hand side, just the quote there. But we've seen about a 65,000 square foot increase in building square footage, but really haven't been able to address or maintain or continue to grow our facilities and maintenance staff. But I know that's something that Leon's been doing quite a bit with and looking at, and I know that weighs heavily on his mind as well as mine. But you can see all the different areas that have been mentioned there. And so that ultimately is kind of a quick summary of all the different things that have been discussed, as well as some of the areas that we're working on. I did want to bring up and talk about the future, if you will, and how we want to address these listening tours. If I were to make a suggestion and or a recommendation, I personally would love to approach this a little bit differently. And the way I would like to see this, and again, open to feedback in every sense of the word, but I would love to be a part of our building leadership team meetings that are taking place at the schools, our professional learning communities, even sitting in the lunchroom with the faculty and staff as they are coming in, so forth, so on. And then also get our administrators and district directors involved in some of these as well. And part of the reason for that, or my explanation and reasoning behind wanting to be, especially in the building leadership team meetings as well as the PLCs, is that's where the work's ultimately happening and being discussed in our schools, and it gives me the opportunity to see what the roadblocks are from accomplishing what we need to provide the students what they need and what our teachers need. And then just having that discussion while we're in there, okay, how do we help remove this barrier? And so it's an idea, it's a suggestion. We've been doing this approach for the last 4 years. I can continue this approach, or we can try this other way. It doesn't mean that the numbers will decline in any way, shape, or form. Mindy and incoming Assistant Superintendent Robinson and I have been talking quite a bit about this already, and just how we could make this look and getting everyone involved. And it's very similar to what's currently set up, in the sense that we reach out to the schools, they sign up for a date, we would just do the same thing for their BLTs and PLCs, and then other opportunities where a superintendent or the assistant superintendent will be hanging out in the lunchroom. If you have questions, feel free to drop by, and just giving them different opportunities that way. So just some ideas and thoughts there, but I'm open to any and or all questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. So board, do you have any questions, or also what do you think about that proposal about moving forward kind of in a different way? And I'll just let people comment. Mrs. Dolly, then Mrs. Pedersen.
Just 2 questions on that. I know right now it's sort of like with the listening tour, we have external relations and people come to take notes, and so we're able to then, get this information to the end of the road. So I think we just need to think about how does that communication then also get back to the board with those. And then secondarily, making sure that we have the opportunities for all teachers to have a voice, that it's because BLTs are not everybody.
Yep.
Just things to think about.
No, for sure, and I appreciate that. That's one of the reasons why I mentioned even the lunches or the different areas that way. And again, one of the reasons why I've also thrown out this idea is, and again, I haven't had this feedback, but as a former building principal, and maybe some of our teachers could attest to this as well, there are moments or times where we are sitting in a faculty meeting, if you will, and we're looking at our clock and we're wondering, boy, I wish I could be doing X, Y, and Z. We have a lot of systems that are also in place with our SACs, with our DACs, there are so many systems of collecting a lot of this information. And again, giving the opportunity for all teachers to communicate that, but then also being respectful of their time because the listening tours oftentimes take place before or after school, which is their planning time. So just trying to be mindful of that as well.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Pedersen?
Mine's a lot like Mrs. Dolly's questioning. I would like to see a combination of all of the above, or narrow it down so that certain schools could be assigned so they would know in advance when their rotation would come up. Because I find, as you know, I attended quite a few of those listening tours, that some schools were seen over and over and over every year, and some were seen once.
Yeah.
And some had been seen 5 or 6 times because the principal would request it, and that was the difference. It wasn't by our choice, it was by principal's request. I think the benefit of having an entire staff together and hearing one another's concerns as well as supporting one another so they feel confident in expressing some of their concerns may not be reflected in just a BLT. I think that you should visit some BLTs and that they can request to have you do that, but I would be hesitant to have BLTs be the only means by which we get information. I think we could do a combination where certain schools, we'd have a rotation, and we wouldn't necessarily do 22 schools and 7, all the high schools and, all the employee groups, but we would be going through different regions, areas of the district, and have listening tours with the addition of, they could request, or you could ask, which would your school prefer, a listening tour or a BLT visit? I do know that BLTs are not always inclusive of all of the thoughts of the faculty. I'll just say that from being not on a BLT and being in the building, and I respected what they did, and they worked very hard, and I really appreciated them, but they weren't in their BLT meeting looking at some of those peripheral issues.
Sure.
So I think it would be wise to have both of them. I think it's one of the best things we ever did, was have listening tours and have people come to their actual school and be able to see
them in their home turf, if that makes sense. So I want to continue some version, but I don't want to throw all of the listening tours out, nor do we have to do 100% listening tours. I do like the idea of popping into BLTs, and I think at any school, anyone could visit at a lunch. You know, we just say, hey, I'm going to be in the area. Can I just stop by your school and just let them know? We know with our schedules whether we could do that, because even board members could, you know, do that if that be something that the faculty would be comfortable with. So I appreciate your efforts to adapt, but I also don't want to stretch you so far that you can't get your job done. So it's a lovely balance, balance of time, but those are my concerns.
Thanks. Okay, thank you. And then let's just go down the line right here. Mr. Edel, Mr. Lewis, Mrs. Nybar.
Okay, so as each new leader comes in, you know, each new leader has a different style and a different approach, and I wholeheartedly support you taking a new approach. Obviously, we just hired you, right, for a reason, not by chance, not by fluke, right, because of our faith in your ability to do your job and do your job well. So I won't even presume to even think that I can micromanage on something like this, and I would hope that none of us would also believe that we could micromanage you on something like this and how you engage as staff and get feedback. I appreciate you letting us know. I imagine this process will evolve over time as you get into it, and I just want to say thank you for continuing to engage at the facility level with our schools and also with the rest of our staff throughout the district. And I look forward to hearing the additional comments that come forward as we move through the next school year. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Lewis, thank you.
I appreciate your willingness to be innovative. I do agree with Karen on most of the points she made. I'm interested to see if we did this, what it would look like in a year, what the results would look like in a year. However, I'm just a little bit concerned about how selective BLTs are, like Karen said, as well as, you know, with the superintendent's tour, you give everyone a time, place, like a specific date, and an opportunity to just come and complain, you know, to come and complain, voice their things. And it's open to anyone. You don't have to attend, you can attend. I think having that set in stone instead of I'll show up at a BLT or at a lunch or anything else is a little bit more consistent. However, Andrew is right. You are deeply, deeply experienced on all levels. And if this is the way that you want to go, let's give it a year and see how it looks at the end of next school year. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Mrs. Nybar.
I really appreciate the opportunity to have our current superintendent utilize his leadership abilities and the way that he sees is best. I appreciated the opportunity to sit down and be part of those listening tours and listen. Many times I would stay after and talk to staff, and you know, there's trade-offs with whatever approach you do. I actually had a lot of faculty feel that the listening tour, yes, they were able to come and speak, but as far as follow-up to issues, as far as some of those things, you know, it's kind of a big view of we're listening, but it's a little bit harder to then go in and then, you know, in a very precise way, actually follow up with what's happening. And I think that's the beauty of small group interactions. And I know you mentioned PLCs too, which would take in all the teachers. And I think I had enough feedback from teachers about, okay, what's the follow-up, and actually a lot of teachers following up with me after listening tours. And I think that there'll be some really neat things that come from more of a small group feedback, question, answer, and ability to follow up. So I fully support you in that decision. Also, when you're talking about the feedback from the listening tours, I just wanted to mention I did receive communication today from the Oak Hollow community, who are extremely concerned about moving to the one cohort that they have. that they have some families that are on waiting lists. And just so the whole full board knows, I guess there's going to be a lot of communication and emails coming in. And parents also from Oak Hollow did talk to Lone Peak Elementary about that process. And so anyways, that's actually I was on the phone with right around when closed session was happening. So just as a heads up that there's a concern that way already that we can get going on and look into. But I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see, I guess my one thing is I'm really excited to see also a level of, follow-up of after you go to these schools and do more of a small group interaction, then what are the next steps and measures? Because I think that was the biggest feedback I would receive after, so.
Okay, thank you. I do want to mention that Mrs. Oakes needed to leave, so we need to put that on the agenda. But she is listening in. She will not be participating anymore, but she will be listening. I do want to add my support. Like I would love you to try a new way, and I think the majority of us are saying yes. At least try it for a year, and then maybe make sure you because I think all of us want to make sure you report back to us, because there have been several initiatives that we've then adopted, put more money, like the more time for teachers, the assistant principals. I mean, those are all budget decisions. So I think we all just want to make sure we get some type of report back.
100%. No, I can completely commit to that.
You okay with that?
If I were to add anything else, it would really be the fact that this is going to continue to morph, if that makes sense. I think it's
I would imagine that.
Something that we want to be effective, we want it to be beneficial, we want to continue to receive the information as well as help our employees see that they're being heard. And so, again, as I'm just throwing out these different ideas, it's trying to look at how do we most effectively address all of our employees. And that could be a combination of all of the above. And really it might be school A wants this and school B wants that. And, and I'm very much open to all of this. And again, I've kind of pride myself in spending time with people and understanding where they're coming from and what their needs or concerns are. And so we'll continue to look at it. I'm not committed one way or the other. It truly just comes down to what's going to be best and most effective for our employees moving forward.
Okay, thank you. I think that sounds great. I do want to bring up another item. So every other superintendent that we've had, well, it kind of got messed up with Rick because he was hired during COVID. So every other superintendent, we've had some type of open houses where the parents can actually interact with you. And so I don't know if you could talk to communication. I mean, maybe there's not the need, but I would at least love you to discuss this, because I do think it's important for superintendents to get in front of parents, not just employees. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I don't know how the rest of the board feels. But I do think it would be awesome. I don't know. Think about, because I know with like Jim Briscoe, he went to every single, I think, high school. Didn't he go to every single feeder? I mean, I'm not saying you have to do that. Like, you don't need to do that. Jeff, do you have some ideas? I see you standing. Okay.
Yeah, and just to add to that, and I know this is very similar to the other in the sense it may not encompass everyone, but we already do have like our PTA and our SCCs that all come together, and we do
That is true.
have those conversations.
Are you going to do that luncheon,
Oh, yeah.
luncheon in
Yep.
the fall?
Yep, that's in fact, I
Okay,
think
so
it's already
that's great.
scheduled, if I remember correctly, so.
Okay.
Yep, we've got all that in place, so.
So
But we'll
perfect.
continue to look for every opportunity possible.
Okay,
Well,
that
not-
sounds great. Okay,
Still
thank
getting
you
some
so
sleep, so I'm good.
much. That would be
Good.
great. Thank you so much. We really appreciate that. And that was a good report. Okay, next item on the agenda is item B, and that is the 2026-27 budget update. This is the second reading by Leon Wilcox, Business Administrator. And he will go through all these items on the agenda.
Thank you, President Schill. I know, McKay, I know you need some sleep, but hey, you gotta stay awake during the budget. This is the most exciting.
That's the most
Part.
exciting part.
Yes. Yes, thank you, President Schill. This is our second reading, just a couple quick housekeeping items, if you will. We posted our budget online on the website last Tuesday, day after Memorial Day. Has an executive summary. It's on Diligent as well. I have a copy here. I may just show this binder a couple times. That's what it is. The total budget we're asking you to approve is $610 million. It has 15,000 Excel lines, which is 15,000 separate accounts. You know, obviously we're going to try to truncate that down just to a couple charts and graphs here for you and for the public, because there's just so much detail out there. Some of the things we went through last time was our pass-through taxes fund, our capital, and our debt. The pages are there. We won't hit those today since we hit them last time, but I want to just start off by saying this statement. This was in the minutes that you approved. I'm going to ask this be verbatim in the minutes again for this meeting, and that is that our 2026-27 proposed budget for Canyon School District includes a proposed tax rate increase. The increase will be approximately $6,871,000. The percentage increase will be approximately 5.8%, and we'll schedule our Truth and Taxation to be held Tuesday, August 4th at 6 here in the district offices here in this room, okay? I'm going to ask that be put in the minutes, so we have to turn that into the state and the county. We have our property tax impact statements found on our website. It's found on the homepage, found on Diligent. We have handouts. Of that total, that 6.8, 2.61 will be used to give a slightly higher COLA increase, cost of living, of 0.75 of 1% for all employees. That was part of the negotiations agreement you approved 2 weeks ago. Also looking to hire 2 new teachers for our CIC, manufacturing and engineering, with those funds as well. So the general fund will go up $2,371,000. Yes, that amount there, and that's on their tax impact statement. And again, we're looking to increase our capital fund that will only use that money to pay general obligation debt, but we also reduce our debt service fund by that same $4.5 million. So it's a net it's a net zero impact to the taxpayers. And as we said, as our debt retires over the next few years, the district will use the funds to rebuild and renovate our aging elementary schools. Dr. McKay hit on that. One of the concerns as we go to some of these elementary schools, we have 13 that are over 50 years old that need some work, and another 6 that are 45 to 50 years old. So things that we gotta start addressing that way. Here is a average tax statement. I just want to go over that with you. This past week, we received the average home values from the Salt Lake County Assessor's Office. So our home value in the average home value in Canyon School District increased $30,000. $30,000, yeah. Went from $740 to $770. Last in the budget and last meeting, I thought that's 4%. I used 3%, so it was $762. So a little bit higher than I thought, but you can see $30,000 on the average home in 1 year. So you can see that amount right there. You compare it to, I'm pointing to this amount right here. You look at the line that we're looking to increase, the Canyon School District line, on that top line on people's tax statements, goes up about $70 on the average home. We want to make that note there. However, if you look down on the second line, that is going to drop by about $38. Again, the debt service, again, as we transfer money from debt into our capital. So we want to make that note there. Also, the basic school levy on this average home is gonna go up about $11. That is set by the state. They may change that rate as they get closer with the certified tax rate. They usually do. Usually it drops a little bit, but we'll have to see what happens this year. That being said, as we get the certified tax rate and get all this figured out, these could change by a few dollars here. Just want to make sure everyone that says that this is a projection and an estimate right now. But again, the net increase in total taxes, you look at last year's amount, last year's amount versus what we're projecting for this year's amount is about $37 on the average home once everything's figured in, okay? So that's that increase there. And again, that could change, go up a couple of dollars, could come down a couple of dollars as we finalize everything there with the state. Again, also want to note our tax hearing, August 4th, here in this building. This does not, of course, your statements will not include anything from the cities. I do know Draper City will be doing a tax increase. I believe that's the only one of the cities in our district that's doing it. Is Cottonwood Heights doing it?
Yeah, Cottonwood Heights is planning to do one.
They had a list and they were not on it, but okay. And I know the town of Alta is also doing it as well. I know Sandy is not, and I don't think Midville is, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. The tax revenues, again, with the new bill 236, you committed the funds on the consent agenda. We cannot spend those monies until the tax hearing. So what we've said is committed or set aside that $6.8 million right there in our general fund. And then if the increase goes through, we will be doing what we call retroactive for those employees who would qualify for that. That's, you can see the page number there on our budget. I just want to give some more detail. Last 8 years on property taxes. You can see what we collected 8 years ago. That's FY20. That was the year of COVID. And you can see where we're at now. Roughly 27% more. 38% is that is due. The state's portion has gone up by 38%. So, you know, people say taxes have gone up. They have. We were the first to admit that. Some of that is because the state has dropped income tax, but has raised their portion of the state basic rate too. So a little bit of a difference there. And you can also see where the debt has gone up. Again, we've dropped it down this year, transfer some of that money up there into what we call our certified rate. Again, making that even there. You can see a bar graph of that going across. And also the average home value of, again, the last 8 years. So in COVID, it was average home FY20 was $420,000, $421,000. This year, again, it was $769,500. I'm rounding up to $770. But you can see an 83% increase in the average home in the last 8 years. That's big. And, you know, that's goes back to our enrollment problems of young families. How do they afford it? I understand that. You can see the next rate down is the basic, how much basic rate has increased on that average home. Again, about almost 50% from $384 up to $572. Our certified rate that we control, gone from $970, again, up to, this is the proposed, $1,314, 35%. And you'll see the debt. Again, that rate has dropped, but you can see how that impacts the average home, roughly 18%. Here is the total taxes due on the year-over-year change. The state did drop the basic rate quite a bit in between 23 and 24. That's why that went down. But you can see a total change, if you will, of about $34 from one year to the next. Total taxes, again, that could go up or down by a couple dollars as we go forward. Important to remember, I say this last several years, you see house values have gone up quite a bit. Commercial values have not. This work from home type thing has really impacted the commercial market quite a bit. The commercial values was $7.4 billion, if you will, in FY20. It's now up to $10.7 billion. We like the commercial because they don't get that tax, that residential exemption, but they haven't gone up as much. Their values have gone up about 44%. That's why most of, these increases have been pushed onto residential homes rather than commercial properties. And so that's always a big factor that's out there. I know the state has looked to try to change that. A couple bills were floated out there, but nothing took hold this last session with that. So there's our taxes right there. Gonna completely change gears, and this is what I brought up last meeting about a proposed lunch price increase. Again, the last time we did it was in 2021. We actually didn't implement it that year as we had 2 years of COVID. We were subsidized by the federal government, but our food costs have just gone up and up, as well as our labor cost, to keep and employ good people in all parts of our district, including our kitchens. So if possible, we'd look to approve that at next week's, the board meeting in 2 weeks. We don't need to wait till the Truth and Taxation hearing to approve that. Here's what our proposal is. You can see what Salt Lake and Jordan are doing, where they're headed. We're proposing $1 for breakfast. It's more on the next slide on that, and 50 cents for elementary lunch and 75 cents for secondary lunch. You can see the participations there. About almost half our students participate in lunch, about 10% in breakfast. Those schools who recall are on CEP or Community Economic Provisions will still receive free breakfast and lunch. Midville, Middle, and Carperview, East Midville, Mid-Valley, and Sandy Elementaries. That will continue next year. So I know there was a request last time about paid breakfast, how that looks. So these are, I updated this today because we got the final totals of the number of paid breakfasts we provided all of last school year. So it was about 181,000. You can see the breakout there between elementary, middle, and high schools. We don't have a whole lot of students pay for breakfast, especially at the high schools where the average student, if you calculate on a per student basis, is about 2 a year. I know most won't have any, but some may have 30 or 40. It just depends on what they choose. These numbers do exclude those CEP schools, so they're not accounted in there, but you can see the averages there. I'm gonna just stop there because this is a little bit separate. Is there any questions on what we're requesting on the increase in the paid in the school lunch and breakfast costs?
Are there any questions, board? Mr. Edel?
I do just want to comment, as a parent with kids who do eat breakfast and lunch at school, I still think that the fees are reasonable, and I looked at the math, and the math makes sense, and I appreciate the quality and the availability that we have for school meals, and while I want to acknowledge the impact it'll have on some, I know for at least my household, we'll continue to have no restrictions for our children. If they eat, then they eat, and if they don't, then they don't. But the prices are still all really cheaper than I can do at home. So,
yeah, like I say, if you go to Chick-fil-A or McDonald's or wherever for lunch, these kids particularly the high school kids who leave for lunch and come back, they're paying 3 times as much or 4 times as much. Yeah. So, if it's okay, we'll bring a proposal back for you to vote on at the June 16th meeting then. Okay. Again, here's some enrollments, and McKay hit this with you know, the concern that's out there amongst all our school communities, and that's just this drop in enrollments. You can see the last 5 years where we have been, you know, we're actually higher than that the previous 2 years. So we've been falling for about 6-7 years now. And you can see where we're projected to go over the next 5 years, just continue down. We do think we're gonna bottom out around that 26,000 enrollment in the 32, 33 year. Kind of bounce along there for a couple of years and then start rebounding, if you will, in the late 30s, 36, 38. That is what the state is projecting. We'll have to see if that comes to fruition, but that is the projections out there. Will take a long time. You know, they're projecting about, from the peak down, statewide, about a 90,000 student drop from where it was about 3-4 years ago. So it's big that way. But we'll see where that is, and again, we'll have to adjust our budget accordingly as we move forward with fewer students. Now I'm just going to hit again some of our charts there. You have I put the page numbers. You know, again, trying to condense these 15,000 accounts down to a little bit simpler view, but some of the impacts that we're seeing out there. Here's our revenues. The last 3 years, what we're filing budgeting this year and what we're proposing for next year. You can see it, there's not a whole lot of big difference between our budget for next year and our final budget this year. Main change is in the increase in property taxes. We will get a little bit more state money in some areas, but we're losing, you know, but due to the loss of students and also the loss of the digital teaching and learning, with that pays for our Elevate Summit. That was happening today and tomorrow. We're also losing TSSA with that. So you can see our revenues going up a little bit, but not a whole lot. You can see a chart how we collect our money again. The majority, some 56-57% coming from the state in either restricted or unrestricted, but then also our property taxes, and just a small chunk from the federal government and our local, whether that's building rentals or whatnot there, interest on investments and whatnot on that. So that's why we're always working with the state legislature, Susan, Charlie, trying to get the money that we can to support our schools. Here's where we have the money going out, our expenses, a 3-year trend plus this year's final budget, next year's. Again, not a big increase. The main thing is we're going to have about 50-something fewer teachers next year, just because of that loss of enrollment, is what. So the big thing, as the big challenge we're going to face going forward, is how do we reduce other areas as well. And I know, you know, McKay's gone out to the listening tours and people have commented about the student behaviors and other things, and that's where these student services and staff services and district administration impact those. But again, we have fewer students to fund those, so we have to, undoubtedly we're going to have tough decisions going ahead with that. So, but you can see where we're projecting there. Again, we still want the most of our funds going right to instruction, students, our teachers right in front of our students. Going around the pie, facilities, that would include our utilities. Of course, they're going up, especially water, our school administration, our staff. That would be our coaches, our librarians, and also all the PD that we do out there, our student services, there's our counselors, nurses, psychologists, social workers. Central is payroll and accounting, IT is the biggest one there, transportation, our busing, and then our district and community making up about 1% there. Here's what we call it by object. Again, you know, even in this age of AI, if you will, it's still salaries and still people. That's what drives education, is people, and 90% of our dollars are going towards people, whether it's salaries or benefits. And you can see the others around there, but again, even this age of AI, we're never going to get past a qualified teacher in front of our kids. here's our fund balance. You can see where it's been the last few years and where we're projecting. I should always say, I say this every year, it's not gonna look like this at the end. We always budget on the conservative side, but we also know historically we're gonna be 2 to 3% under budget. 3% on a $400 million budget is about $12 million. And we're trending pretty well this year, so we expect, we hopefully will add a little bit to our fund balance this year. And there is a, per Utah code for the last few years, if you have leftover funds in your debt service, you can use that for technology programs, which we've done. And here's our FTEs. Again, we still want the most going right to instruction, whether that's aides or teachers, paras, and going around the circle there, again, those same services. But again, next several years, we're gonna have to figure out how do we keep that instruction up there even higher while reducing these other ones, and that's gonna be painful. We know that. And this is one thing that we talked a little bit about in our operating systems last week. McKay hit on it, but that's class size. And that's really where the rubber hits the road for us, is keeping our class sizes as low as they can, because that provides the most effective instruction. That's what our budget is really all about, is how do we educate these 32,000 kids the best way we can, and also the most efficient way we can. So what I did is I pulled all our just elementaries, and I did it about 3 weeks ago. So the fourth term, if you will, their class sizes. And so we had 16, I'll get that on the next slide. We had 16 elementary schools that had a class size of 29 or higher. And we'll get to that on the next slide. But you can see our ratio here of how many students per teachers we have. Then the number of classes, the high and the low. So we have, as we've talked about, we have some very small classes, in the low teens, and then some that get bigger, particularly these smaller elementaries. That poses that challenge there. But you can see on our kindergarten, we staff it at 22.15, but our average is a 19.8, so we're below what we staff at. But our biggest one was at Draper. We had one at 27, one at 25, and one at Silver Mesa at 26. All the others were under that. First grade was our best. Again, we had several at the DLIs that were 28, but the highest non-DLI was at Glacier Hills with 24. And you can see going down there, the big concern, we just had a few kids move into Altiview's neighborhood, and just that one class, fourth grade, so we got up to 35 there. That was far and away our biggest class. But some of these are these smaller schools that we've looked at. Quail Hollow, Granite, Sprucewood are in that area right now, and Oak Hollow's the same with their dual immersion, just basically one neighborhood class. So that just all these challenges come to there. But I think overall we are pleased that we just had, again, out of roughly 450, close to 500 classes, we only had 16 that had 29 or higher. And you can see those there. Again, the biggest was at Altiview, fourth grade class. Then 2 classes that had 31, Sprucewood and Oak Hollow. And then 4 classes, Altera's fourth graders were 30. Quail Hollow had us 30, again, as we had lots of their parents here last time, and understandably so with their concerns. So there's, again, trying to monitor our class sizes. Just to wrap up our budget approval process, at the next meeting on June 16th, we'll ask you to approve the FY27 budget on a tentative basis. The final approval will come at our tax hearing. We'll adopt a revised budget at that 16th meeting as well. We'll ask you to do that. Not a whole lot of changes between what you approved a year ago and now. We'll have a separate public hearing for any public comment on the budget. We may have the certified rate done, but it may not be. And then we'll also ask for your approval on the lunch and breakfast price increases. So just want to remind on the August 4th, Truth and Taxation bill here, start an hour earlier at 6 o'clock. That can only be our only meeting that day, so we cannot have a study session before as we've done in the past. The only business we can discuss is the tax increase and the budget, so what formally adopt the budget, however it looks that night. And we must allow for video and audio connection, so I'm gonna have to talk with Justin, Jeff, Kirsten, how that's going to look. That was a new requirement going on that they will submitted or required. And also, they can submit written comments before the hearing and during the hearing, and we'll need to read those into the record. So have to see how all that plays out. Again, new requirements from that House Bill 236. So with that, that's all I have, but any questions or comments with that?
Okay, board, are there any questions or comments? Well, it looks like there are not. So thank you, Mr. Wilcox. We appreciate all your work on this. It is a lot of work that goes into it. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is staff comments, and we will start with superintendent report, Dr. McKay Robinson.
Hey, I learned how to turn it on. That's good. Last time we struggled a little bit with that. I do have a few things that I would love to just quickly identify and share, and we may need to start this 3 minutes for me as well. But just really quickly, Brad Snow was recognized a little bit earlier in the work that he's done on the foundation, and I just wanted to express my appreciation to him as well. One of the most amazing individuals that I've had the privilege of working with, and has always been so kind and gracious to me, so I thank him and all the great work that Denise has been doing. I know we celebrated her in the back room, but just I really admire her and all that she's done and influenced all of our students. Suzanne Wren is another individual that has truly impacted our schools, and just really grateful for her as well. Today was really an awesome opportunity for 920 of our teachers. We had our Elevated Teaching Summit today, and we had 920 teachers sign up to be a part of this, come in on basically their first day of summer, if you will. It's truly impressive. There's 254 sessions over the next 2 days. 61 of our classroom teachers actually are signed up to be presenters. We had 14 external presenters, from different organizations like USBE, UEN, Canva, Magic School, Nearpod, on and on. So there's 196 different presenters overall. So truly amazing. I have to give a major shout out to Chandra, Allison, Jonathan, Emma, Leslie, Laurie, Amber, Katie, and the list goes on and on. But the amount of work that went into this is just truly impressive, and it was a great privilege and opportunity that I had, and I'm just so grateful for all their work. I wanted to congratulate our graduates as well. We made it through another amazing school year, and it was a great thing to be a part of 3 of the high school graduations, and then Diamond Ridge as well. Just truly grateful for all of that. But last but not least, certainly not least in any way, shape, or form, is I wanted to just specifically recognize Sergeant Singleton. Sergeant Singleton is just an all-around amazing human being. And if you talk with other law officers and the different individuals that work with him, they have nothing but positive things to say about him. They talk about how he's by far the best supervisor that they've worked with. And just from a personal note, I know that Charisse, I know that Suzanne, everyone else involved that has had the opportunity to work with you are truly blessed and are better people because of it. And I will just speak for myself, just how grateful I am to have known you. I hope you're not disappearing, and I hope you continue to come around, but been with us for about 5 years overseeing all of the SROs in our schools. And so my hat goes off to you, and I truly appreciate you. And I hope if there's anything that I can ever personally do for you to help advance your career in any way, shape, or form, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd be more than happy to support you. We have a very, very small token of our appreciation. It's one of our lovely Canyons coins. I know my brother speaks quite a bit about the different coins that are passed around different law officers, but we wanted to make sure that we got one of these for you from Canyons District. So thank you, Sergeant Singleton. We greatly appreciate all that you've done for us.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Robinson. Now we will have the business administrator report by Leon Wilcox.
Just want to thank Tamara Bostic for filling in for Cindy tonight. Cindy has an annual girls' state is where she's at, first week of June, and volunteering her time up there. And Tamara has graciously stepped in and been trained over the last week, and kind of had a deal with McKay and myself on preparing. But hey, thank you for filling in tonight. I just want to extend my thanks to the board for, extending my contract for another 2 years. Looking forward to, the opportunities and also the challenges that we're going to face moving forward. So thank you very much. Certainly appreciate that on behalf of my family and myself. And just want to go along with what McKay said. I had serious fun, I call it, at graduation last week. It was great to be at Alta and Corner with Holly and Amanda, Jeff and Tom as well, and then Diamond Ridge with McKay, Karen, Katie, and Amber. So that was a lot of fun as well. So congrats to all our graduates. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. We will now go on to board comments, and we are going to start with Mrs. Nybar tonight.
Well, I love participating in graduation ceremonies. It's neat to be a part of that with the kids, and because that's why we do what we do, and why we spend the time we do is for them. And so it's neat to, whenever we have the opportunity to interact with the kids. I always have the same thoughts as you see all these kids in their caps and gowns, is the future is so bright. And one thing that stood out in my mind as I was reflecting, I was able to go to Alta and Corner Canyon, and then also had the awesome privilege to go to Jordan Valley. And man, I don't know that there's anything that'll bring tears to your eyes quicker than seeing the difference that teachers and staff and faculty at that school make in the lives of those really awesome, neat individuals that we all get to learn from. But as I was thinking about these graduates, I was thinking about all the people that stand behind them, their parents, their families, the teachers, the administrators, the bus drivers, the custodian. There's so many people that the teacher aides, obviously, the teachers, but all of those people kind of create this ecosystem behind them. To create the experiences that they have for those kids in our schools and their school experience. And I was thinking that, it's regular, everyday, ordinary things that are done, but those things over time added up, and if done with great love, become extraordinary. And it's interesting, finish lines are always pretty fast and surreal, and we celebrate them and they're so fulfilling. But behind that finish line was the process it took to get there. And that is the significant part. That's the part where people become who they're meant to be. That's where all the lessons are learned. And so it's just neat to think about everything that went into that day. So I really love graduation. Had some really fun activities at the elementary school. The fourth grade's doing this whole rendezvous, frontiers, they did this whole unit on learning about frontiers, the Wild West and everything that went into that. And then they had these goods, and they went to market, and they had these beaver pelts that they marketed and sold and bought with beaver pelts. But that was really a fun event for my fourth grader to be involved in. So many, end of year programs, and I'm just come away just feeling so grateful. I'm so grateful for our village, so grateful for everyone who pours all the love and time and attention into our children. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis.
I had the opportunity to attend 3 different graduations over the last 2 weeks. The first being Jordan Valley's graduation with Holly, and that was, again, an incredible experience. We had, I believe, 8 graduates this year. It was 2 last year, and it was such an exciting ceremony to see people who are so dedicated to giving another person such an incredible opportunity like education. Seeing that hard work pay off is so awesome. At Hillcrest and Brighton's graduation, had the opportunity to, more particularly at Hillcrest, to hand a couple of diplomas to people that I ended up going to high school with. Did not really expect to see some familiar faces, but you know, this is the last year that I had students, that there are students still in school that I went to school with. So that was kind of a fun thing. Very, very interesting. Other than that, I hope that each of our students enjoys their summer break and that our teachers enjoy a little bit of a time spent away from the classroom over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Edel.
So with graduation, I've been thinking an awful lot about young people, and there's various opinions about young people, but I think they've persisted since time began, right? Where young people are always younger than older people, and they have less life experience, and those have more life experience. But I'm really excited for the graduates, and we have so many great young people out there right now who are incredibly sharp, have fantastic critical thinking skills, and so it's fun to celebrate them at graduation as they start on that next chapter in life. And for the ones that I get to work with, who come my way, it's fun to get to know each of them. But yeah, we have just such amazing young people out there, and so I'm appreciative of them for the work that they put into their education, and then everyone else who, for all the work that goes into that as well. So, and then thank you so much, Sergeant, for keeping our schools safe. We've got like the best SROs, like really absolutely hands down. All of my interactions with our SROs have been nothing less than amazing. So thank you to you. Thank you for your whole team. Thank you for the positive role model that you are for all of our students. And thank you for keeping our students safe.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Dolly.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to attend the Elevate conference today, and to echo what Superintendent Robinson said, it is phenomenal. So shout out to our ISD department for all their work in putting together this conference, because it's no small feat to put on a conference for that many people with so many great sessions. And so I'd highly encourage anybody that can to attend that. The keynote today was phenomenal, and learning more about that it shouldn't be screen time that we're counting, but really screen value when we're using technology in our schools, and make sure it's really providing the value that we need it to for our students. Secondly, as many have mentioned, just shout out to our graduates. It was awesome to attend the graduation celebrations. I think my favorite moment was at LSA when the principal, Stacy Nossinger, was getting a little bit teared up, and one of her graduates said, "Be brave, babe," and stood up and walked up and gave her a big hug. And so, I'll always remember that, be brave, babe, when things could be tough. So thank you to everybody that worked hard to put on a great graduation celebrations for all of our students. And then lastly, I have the opportunity to serve on our Canyons Education Foundation, and just wanted to thank Brad and Denise for all their work there as they move on to other things, but also take the opportunity to thank all of our partners that serve on the foundation. We have so many businesses in our communities that love to support our students in our schools and make it possible that we can do some great things with our schools and supporting families and students. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Pedersen.
We'll just finish the theme of graduation. It is such an honor to be able to see the end of the results. As an elementary teacher, you worked really, really hard, and you moved this child
that you put your heart into and passed them on to someone else who loves them just as much. And to be able to see some of those same kids coming across the stage and look at you in the eye and just be so proud of them and their accomplishment. It's a reward. You get to finally get to see the end of that process. And so I appreciate being there. I also enjoy the fact that I get to go to some of the alternative kinds of graduations. I attend Life Skills and I go to Diamond Ridge, which is a school of choice. And I'm going to be also speaking at Entrada's adult high school graduation, as well as the opportunity I had to be to the school where my kids all went to, which was Jordan High School. So that was pretty awesome. But what I like about these alternative schools is that I learn so much from them and their speeches. The trials and challenges that they faced are way above anything I remember having to face it as a student myself. And I learned so much from them and their courage. And I want to be a better person because they've made themselves a better person. So I really appreciate being able to be in that process. I did have one small sadness from graduation. I was at an elementary not graduation, but the end of the school day when the kids came out. And some of the parents had lays they were putting on kindergartners, and they came up with a limo and picked up their students, and they had names written all on the cards, and that's all really, really fun. But the little girls that were standing by me go, "Where's my limo?" I kind of hope our parents will realize that when they go above and beyond the norm for their students, that there's some kids that will never have that opportunity, and how hard that was. That was just really hard for me to see the disparity of support that they did not have at graduation from the parents. So just think about that. I have loved being able to go to listening tours. I've been to I'm pretty close to every single possible listening tour over the past 3 years. And I loved being in the environment of our schools and hearing from them directly and seeing them share their heartfelt desires and also and feel their joys. I think it's an important process, and I appreciate our upcoming superintendent willing to consider expanding or refining, actually, the process. So I'm really excited. Many things that we have done have come from that listening tour. So I appreciate that I've been able to enjoy that. I just want to wish our teachers, hopefully at some point, a happy summer and a chance to relax, and that's what I have to say.
Okay, thank you. So tonight, we have a lot of thank yous. I want to thank Tamara for filling in tonight. I want to thank Sergeant Singleton. I didn't know you weren't going to be with us anymore, but anyway, thank you so much for all you've done for our students. We do appreciate you. I want to thank our high schools. I actually think all the graduations, I heard all the graduations were amazing. And I've heard so much positive from multiple different people just about how fun graduation was, from grandparents, from different people. I also want to thank the board for keeping your speeches very short. I heard almost everyone's was less than 3 minutes. And so I just want to thank the board because I've also heard a lot of positive feedback from parents about that as well. I do want to mention that Katie and I, she didn't mention this, we were invited to Brighton yesterday. They had a PLC conference, and about half the teachers from Brighton came voluntarily to actually have more professional development and classes. And I sat in one class, and wow, I learned a lot, and I realized why this teacher teaching it has been Teacher of the Year. I mean, it was amazing, and some of my kids have had her, and I was like, wow, she is an amazing teacher, and that was fun. And I did learn a lot. I kind of had a headache after that, so it was great, though. Also, I just wanted to thank, Superintendent and Kirsten, and Susan was there, and Brooke, and Caleb, and a whole bunch of people were at Bella Vista for the last day, and I really did appreciate everyone being there. And it was hard. I'm going to be honest, it was really hard. It was hard to, it was sad. I was sad all day. It was hard to kind of see, the effects of that decision. But in the end, I do know it's the best, but but it's not easy. I just want to recognize it's not easy. It's not an easy thing. And I think the board, as a board, I think we realize that closing a school is never going to be easy. But we do appreciate the teachers. We know it's been hard for them, but we hope that things will go okay next year. So, and let's see, is that all? I think that is all. So I will now call the meeting to a close. Thank you.